Here we are, guys, in part 7 of this story. The Ondaime Hokage unknowingly makes a change during the sealing, the consequences of which are unimaginable for both Naruto and Konoha. What do these consequences mean for Naruto? Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, let's begin. Kazekage's office, Sunagakuer. Good. You are all here. Now, Baki, what is the status of our borders with Kumo? Last I heard, we were on rather tense terms with their outposts. Baki turned to the Kazekage, but not before shooting a warning glance at the two remaining Sand siblings. Temari and Kankuro were distraught, being separated from Gaara for months. It made Baki wonder how those two could still love a person who was so heartless. Their bond was truly strong. Yes, Kazekage-sama. Our relations with Kumo are terser than usual. Just yesterday, we had an altercation with their border patrol. The ninjutsu caught our infiltrators and wiped them all out with black lightning. I think we need to step up our skirmishes with the Kumo Jounin to keep them at bay. The Kazekage, Uura, steepled his fingers, thinking deeply. Temari and Kankuro were sitting pensively, not even looking at the other two occupants of the room. Ever since the invasion of Konoha, Suna had been declining. Who would have thought Uzumaki Naruto to possess such power? By all reports, he was someone who could potentially pose a threat to entire villages. His actions had thrown everyone off balance. No. We need to stop assaulting any other nation. We react for now, but we do not act. The time is not right, said the Kazekage slowly. Baki stared at him, noting this inconsistency of behavior. Uura was always one for action, usually dishonorable action. Kankuro slowly stood up, fixing the Kazekage with a stare. Suna's Jinchuriki, the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Shukaku, is in foreign hands. My brother, the former Kazekage's son, is in foreign hands. How can you let this slide? Temari pulled him down, looking apologetically at her cage. It was not a good idea to make demands or order the Kazekage around, not a good idea at all. They had to get Gaara on their own. You make a good point. A good point indeed, Kankuro. What are your thoughts on this, Temari? Asked the Kazekage solicitously. Temari was not fooled. Every shinobi had in himself darkness, but not like this Kazekage. He exuded malice, and for no reason. Temari had a feeling that Uura would cast Suna aside easily if it helped him achieve his goals. Gaara is my brother, Kazekage-sama. Even when he was on his killing rampages, I never stopped seeing him as such. He might be a crazed killer, but he was made such a thing by this village. We owe him, she said strongly. Baki stepped up to face the Kazekage, who stared scrutinizingly at Temari. More than that, Kazekage-sama, we need our Jinchuriki back. Suna is most familiar with the Ichibi, so it is best we have him back. For tactical reasons, it is necessary. Konoha has the Kyubi, the strongest of them all. Kumo has Hachibi and Niibai. Iwa has Gobi and Ibi, Kiri has Rakubi and Sanbi, and even Taki has Ninabi. We are at a disadvantage in this regard. The power of the Sand Demon has always belonged to Suna. The Kazekage stared consideringly at the three he had summoned. Temari and Kankuro did not hope for much, as their leader had always put off missions concerning Gaara. They had no doubt that Uura would leave their little brother to the tender care of Kumo Shinobi, leave him to be weaponized even more. I agree. The three subordinates stared disbelievingly at Uura, unable to understand this sudden acquiescence to their request. Oh, don't look like that, Temari and Kankuro. You too, Baki. I am the Kazekage of this village, after all, and I am always on the lookout for our best interests. We need our Jinchuriki back, and we need him back soon. Thus I will convene a full council to make plans for the retrieval of Sabaku no Gaara. We cannot afford to have the power of our Sand Demon added to a nation with two Jinchuriki of its own. Baki nodded solemnly. He was a loyal servant of Suna's cage, whoever be that cage. Suna should prosper, no matter what, no matter the deals they make or with whom. Konoha! Damn it, shouted Naruto, cursing at the devastation he had caused in Training Ground 7. He was trying to learn Jiraiya's improved version of the Rasengan, the Odama Rasengan. He had got it too, but it was somewhat unstable. It exploded on him at unwanted intervals, and that was unwelcome. The council had changed plans on him at the last minute. They had asked him to accompany Kushina to Kiri, and then to travel to Kumo together. When he thought about it, it made sense. Traveling alone in these times was dangerous no matter how powerful you were. Konoha was surrounded everywhere by hostile nations. It was a prelude to war. "Would you teach my son properly, Jiraiya-sensei?" Telling him to pump more chakra into his Rasengan, and staring discreetly at my body the remaining time does not qualify as teaching, now does it? Asked Kushina in a dangerous voice. She was here with Naruto to watch him train, and help him if he needed it. "Hey, I taught him alright. Watch him go at it, will you? He learnt one of my more powerful techniques in about half a day. I am the greatest teacher, after all," finished Jiraiya smugly. Kushina shot him a disgusted look, and watched as Naruto gathered chakra in his palm. Her son had a really unhealthy determination, electing to learn techniques no matter day or night. He said that the newer generation was always meant to surpass the older. Kushina could hardly believe him. How could anyone surpass the Shodai Hokage in strength? She could not conceive of anyone so powerful. The only one who came to mind was Uchiha Madara, and that Uchiha never surpassed the Shodai. Naruto had sensed her disbelief, and countered with an answer that had her thinking. "Brute strength is not the only power in this world, Kasan. It may seem that way, but it truly isn't. No one has even come close to matching the Rikodo Sennin, in all the generations after him. But there have been great men, great humans since him. Even when assaulted by darkness in every front, they chose not to lose their light. Uchiha Kagami, Itachi and many others come to mind." Here he paused, shaking his head regretfully. "It is these people who embody the spirit of humanity who are the strongest, Kasan. The Six-Path Sage was such a man, and there have been many since. Some names are lost in the tides of history, but their effect will be felt forever. You too are such a man, Naruto. You brought peace to the nations, you brought light to our village. Do not discount yourself from their ranks." She had exclaimed, surprised at the self-reproach in his voice. It was as if he wanted to be like those men he had just spoken of. Did he not realize he already was? "I am not like them, Kasan. People may think me great, but I consider myself short-sighted and selfish." Kushina just stared at her son. She never knew what he thought of himself. "No. Yes. That is why this time I will not bind myself with my own preconceptions. I won't waste my second chance." That conversation had reminded her how much she did not know about her son. He had uncharted depths to him, hidden by the mists of history. The sadness in his face as he spoke of himself was heartbreaking to see. It was the look of a man who held himself in contempt. She sighed as he saw Naruto implode another huge Rasengan in his palm. Naruto had stopped cursing, and was staring blankly at his palm. Jiraiya appeared next to him and put a hand on his shoulder. "I expected that to happen, you know. Your chakra is a little too potent to compress so much. You will have to find a different way to stabilize the improved Rasengan, Naruto." "I know," sighed Naruto. It was too much to hope for, really. His chakra was too strong. Way too strong for something like this. He turned to his mother as she put a hand upon his shoulder. "Don't be sad, Naruto. The Kyuubi's chakra is not something that you can isolate from your body. It is a part of you, something that will strengthen you even more. You will find a different way to enhance your father's jutsu. I have faith in you," she said firmly. Naruto smiled up at her. "It is an advantage, Kasan. My body is the confluence of Senju and Uzumaki, after all," he said happily. Then he turned to Kushina with a serious look on his face. "If I cannot learn the Udama Rasengan the normal way, then so be it. I will improvise as it suits me. But Kasan, I have always wanted to learn father's Hiraishin no Jutsu. Do you by any chance have the sealed blueprints? I really want to learn a space-time ninjutsu," he said eagerly. But Kushina shook her head. "It is not at our home, I checked. I wonder where it has gone. There is no point in anyone stealing it, really. Why would they? It was made for your father and his descendants only. I presume someone has misplaced it during the renovation. Too bad. We'll ask the Hokage to look for it later, shall we?" Naruto nodded glumly. He really was looking forward to learning the Hiraishin no Jutsu. He would have one up on Tobirama, at least. It could really occupy one's time, creating and learning new jutsu. Tobirama was a prodigy in that regard, but he himself was no slouch either. The tree suddenly rustled, conveying a crushing sense of urgency to him. Something was wrong, very wrong indeed. He stood up abruptly. "Enormous amounts of foreign chakra," exclaimed Jiraiya. Kushina snarled. He ignored them, however, and concentrated fully on Konoha. He could sense nothing. It was as if his senses were being blinded. He concentrated even more, silver chakra rising from his body. Kushina and Jiraiya looked alarmed as Naruto shut himself off from them, and seemed to be exclusively focusing upon his sensing. "Kurama, Help me. Someone knows the weakness of my sensory techniques and they are actively shrouding the entirety of Konoha. It's Akatsuki. Naruto's body began leaking red chakra, causing Jiraiya and Kushina to get even more alarmed. They had no news. Naruto was using Kyuubi's chakra, and that frightened them. They could hear faint noises of the shinobi being roused and being whipped into a frantic state. Something was going on. Something big. Jiraiya closed his eyes, and an orange ring appeared around his eyes. The characteristic gray chakra of the Uzumaki rolled off Kushina, as she too prepared for imminent battle. Konoha was being attacked over and over again, despite proving its superiority. Akatsuki were persistent. "Will you please stop drowning the entire area with chakra?" asked Naruto in an annoyed voice, letting go of his chakra. Kushina and Jiraiya looked at him in surprise. "What do you mean?" asked Kushina. Naruto sighed, trying to erase his trepidation. He felt someone familiar nearing him. A second later Kakashi stood in front of Naruto, for once not reading that damn book of his. "Sasuke is gone. No trace of him at all. We need to find him. We need to find him now," said Kakashi grimly. Kushina's eyes widened, as did Jiraiya's. However, Naruto scowled. There was no lie in Sasuke's mind as he promised us. "I sensed it. He cannot deceive me. So we must assume that he has been taken by force. You are our strongest sensor, Hashirama. Find him. The shinobi are running around like headless chicken." "They won't help," said Mito, appearing beside Naruto with barely a whisper. Naruto looked at all of them. His family was being threatened again. Not losing his calm, he addressed them. "Let us go somewhere we can discuss without interruption, shall we? This place is frequented by Genin, after all." So saying, he disappeared with Sunshine, followed closely by the others. They stood atop the hill that housed the Hokage carvings. Jiraiya, Kushina, Kakashi and Mito stood silent as Naruto tried his best to sense Sasuke's location. They could still feel the enormous power of the unknown chakra shrouding the village. It felt disgusting. The feel of it was malicious. The person who was exuding it was clearly dangerous. Naruto opened his eyes, slashing his palm through the air in his frustration. "Someone is actively overloading my sensory perception. That is what that huge chakra is doing everywhere. The foreign chakra is very heavy. I can disperse it, but..." "Do it, then," exclaimed Kushina, frantic at losing Sasuke. If Naruto could sense his location, they could concentrate their forces to that location instead of spreading them thin everywhere. Kakashi was looking over Konoha with his Mangekyo. Jiraiya was busily using the extraordinary sensing of his Sage Mode to pinpoint Sasuke. "Let us reason this out," first said Kakashi. Kushina looked at him angrily, but one look from Mito made her lose her anger. They turned to Kakashi as he began to speak. "We need Sasuke's location. The enemy has created a chakra shroud, the only weakness of the sensory ninja. It is also a weakness of the Sharingan, as we can see only that thick chakra. It is like mist, except the mist here is chakra. They have enormous resources to do this, so we can assume it is one of the Akatsuki allied nations. This is not something a single ninja can do. Minato-sensei and I faced this in the Third War." "What do you mean, Kakashi? What is this technique?" asked Jiraiya. He usually took a different sector from Minato during the war. Good shinobi were rare during those times. Kakashi shook his head. "All I know is that they confused Minato-sensei. He could not feel them at all. He said they were inducing oscillations in the surrounding chakra, said he did not have the power to calm down the chakra miles in every direction." Naruto walked to the end of the cliff, his long blonde hair flying as the wind buffeted them. "Everyone get back. I will take care of the chakra shroud. Mito, place yourself and them in a barrier," he said with determination. Akatsuki was becoming a major player, and their audacity intrigued him. They dared to antagonize him after seeing his power? He appeared upon the carving of Senju Hashirama's face, and he could see the entirety of Konoha laid out before him. The chakra shroud was as strong as ever, blotting out his perception. "Sasuke. I can just barely sense through the shroud, and I can give you the location of those creating it. 2 miles, east of Konoha. A group of 50 shinobi, can you take care of them, Kasan?" asked Naruto. Kushina disappeared with an unhesitating nod. He closed his eyes once more, immersing himself in the ocean of chakra that pervaded Konoha. Kushina's blood boiled as she raced towards the division that maintained the shroud. Sasuke was taken from them, and that made her almost insane with rage. She still remembered how sweet Sasuke was as a baby. Naruto was sweeter, of course. But Sasuke was adorable, and he held a special place in her heart. The boys had suffered too much, and they were suffering still. She could see the group of 50 ninjas seated in a large circle, all of them holding up the half-ram seal, just as her son had said. Her bloodlust heightened as she observed each and every one of them. They were well hidden. The forest of the god was very dense indeed, allowing for them to hide themselves in a raised clearing. But not well enough to hide from her. She was sensor enough to peer through the Mesagaku no Jutsu. She could see them, feel their chakras pouring out uncontrollably. She ghosted even closer, moving soundlessly through the treetops. The ninja were all sweating uncontrollably, moaning in pain. She could sense the overload of chakras in their bodies. They were forced to do this. No chakra is that malicious by nature. This chakra is filtered through seals to produce that darkness. These ninja were captured and their chakras are being used to just shroud Naruto's perception. Inhumane. Akatsuki are inhumane. Seeing that the 50 ninja were in no position to defend themselves, Kushina appeared in the midst of their circle. The only way to stop their chakra emission was to kill them all. Katen, Hono Dai Koji. A torrent of white-hot flames exploded from her mouth, igniting everything around her. The unaware ninja were reduced to ashes as the flames consumed them all. Kushina watched as her deluge of flames technique incinerated the poor ninja who were being used as a power source for the chakra shroud. She could feel the malice lifting from the air, and felt Naruto expelling the last of the chakra shroud. Sasuke was as good as located now. She raced back towards Konoha, thinking exultantly. Let us see you run from Senju Hashirama, Akatsuki. Let us see you run from the full might of Konoha directed against you. The chakra shroud was completely destroyed. It seemed Kushina had found its source and dealt with it. Kakashi and Jiraiya watched with utter amazement as markings began to appear on Naruto's face. A thick ring of red covered each of his eyes, and 2 arcs of red adorned each cheek along with 2 concentric circles of red on the center of his forehead. Is that Sage Mode? Questioned Jiraiya in utter astonishment. The nature chakra pouring off Naruto was like nothing he had ever felt. It was pure and strong beyond anything possible. Mito turned to them. You are seeing something lost to history, Jiraiya and Kakashi. That is the Sage Mode he used to defeat Uchiha Madara at the Valley event. He must want to sense Sasuke as fast as possible. Hashirama's Sage Mode amplifies his strength many times. He only had to scratch the surface of its power to defeat Madara. Jiraiya and Kakashi watched with their hair standing on end as the entire hill began to shine silver. They could barely see as Naruto's chakra saturated the entire village. Naruto himself was surrounded by a huge nimbus of pure white chakra as he stared at the horizon. He then slammed his palms together. Senpu. The nimbus surrounding Naruto blasted outward rapidly, causing the entire village to be drenched in white light. Mito watched her husband proudly. She knew he could sense about half of Fire Country with his technique down to the last sapling. Nothing could escape this technique. Makuten. The village was fully obscured by brightness by now. Everyone in Konoha was guarding themselves from the massive white light. Naruto's golden hair was flying as he stood upon the carving of his former face, ecstatic at the rush of his full power as he felt everything in Konoha. Jiraiya had sunk down to his knees as he felt drunk on the unbelievable chakra Naruto was throwing off. This was the true power of Senjutsu. His Toad Sage Mode seemed puny compared to the power of Senju Hashirama. And to think it was still undeveloped. Naruto opened his eyes, and Kakashi could see them glowing like green embers, giving them a glimpse of the utter strength of the man within. Konoha's canopy of white light was getting even brighter, causing its residents to cry out. Mori no Koke, roared Naruto. The canopy of white light covering Konoha now dispersed, gathering along its walls. Then it blasted in all directions towards the end of the horizon from his location, a white sheet of light spreading like a blooming flower over the entire landscape. The beautiful light went on, washing over every forest in Fire Country and giving its creator the power to become one with all forests it touched. There is no chance Sasuke has been taken outside of Fire Country this fast. I will find them all too easily. I will find you, Sasuke. The forests can see, after all. And I see what they see now. Somewhere in Konoha. You shithead, Jirobo. Can't you hold that fucking basket a little firmer, you fat fuck? If you fucking wake up that bastard son of a bitch Uchiha, things may go out of our fucking control. Cursed a rather pretty young woman. Such terrible words from a girl's mouth. Don't worry too ya. I have the crazy monster contained well. My seal is pretty good, after all. He won't get any chance to use those eyes of his, said Jirobo confidently. Running beside him were his mates, Kidomaru and Sakon. If Orochimaru-sama did not need him, I would tear the little shit Sasuke to pieces. Growled Sakon. Their extraction had been dangerous indeed. Kidomaru frowned as he considered their near-death experience under the hands of a child like Sasuke. Orochimaru-sama never said he was that strong. It took all of us at Cursed Seal level 1 to overcome that little shit. Cursed Seal level 2 did not save Ukon from that black fire. Sakon is now alone, something he feared from the beginning. Uchiha Sasuke is too strong for his age. Nothing compared to the Makuten user, but still noteworthy. Orochimaru-sama said the extraction point was somewhere around here. They stopped at the ruins of a bounty office, its dilapidated structure slowly being reclaimed by the forest. The woods provided them with good cover, allowing them to conceal their scents from trackers and giving good spots for hiding and camping. There is the bounty office, Sakon. Orochimaru-sama said someone would come to take Sasuke from us around here. We should wait. The sooner we are rid of this little monster, the better. He should be Orochimaru-sama's problem, said Jirobo. They stood among the dense woods, making camp discreetly. It appeared as if the one who would relieve them of their burden would arrive late. Might as well recuperate by the time he arrived. I found him, said Naruto calmly. How? Questioned Jiraiya, still unable to believe what he witnessed. Below them, Konoha was stirring frantically after Naruto's jutsu. I become one with the forests, Uro-sennin. Mito-chan, listen carefully. Meet Tsunade and explain to her my actions. Tell her to send a team about 30 miles southwest of Konoha. I sense Sasuke and someone else near a lake. There are a few enemies, ask them to be ready for it. I will assist where I can, said Naruto. Mito nodded and disappeared with a shunshine. What's going on? Came Kushina's voice from behind them. The beautiful Uzumaki woman looked around, looking unruffled by her recent skirmish. I found Sasuke, Kasan, said Naruto with resolve lacing his tone. Kushina smiled a bright smile at this. Her son would never fail, ever. It was in his blood to triumph. And I will bring him back. It was well over 3 hours after they set up camp. Thank Kami, their barrier was holding up. Sasuke was still out cold, they had their luck. To thank for that. Ukon had used a suicide technique as he was turned to ashes by Sasuke's black fire. The explosion had knocked out Sasuke, he was a little too close to it. Even in death, you helped me, Ukon. I will not spare Sasuke, never. Someday I will have my vengeance upon him. I swear it on my soul, thought Sakon as he kept watch. It was nearing late noon, and still the contact had not arrived. If this went on for long, then he would have to call off the mission and just take Sasuke to the nearest hideout. Oi, fucker. Shouldn't that asshole be here by now? Orochimaru-sama did say we would have to just stay here for an hours. It's been more than 3, you cocksucking dickhead. Let's just leave this bloody bastard here and go. No. We have to complete this mission to Orochimaru-sama's satisfaction. Sasuke must reach the possession of his acquaintance. There is no other recourse, we must wait as long as we can, said Sakon. By now the others had assembled, keeping Sasuke in the middle. But we are well within Konoha territory. Why on earth did Orochimaru-sama insist not to cross Konoha with Sasuke? It would have made our jobs easier. Shit. Cursed Jirobo. Kidomaru suddenly went quiet, shushing them all. Someone is here, be careful. Activate level 1. Markings of the cursed seal covered their bodies in a second, increasing their abilities many times over. Kidomaru listened closely for any more intervention. Before they could react, a ninja stood in their midst. He wore the black and red cloak of Akatsuki, same as Orochimaru-sama. I could not even hear him come in. This ninja is extremely skilled. As much as Orochimaru-sama. To beat the natural senses of a spider like me, no mean feat. We must avoid antagonizing him. To the surprise of the other Sound 5, Kidomaru stepped forward with an inclined head. Are you the contact? I am Kakuzu, said the masked ninja in a deep voice. His pupils were fully green, and it was intimidating. I will take Uchiha Sasuke now. The 5 of you are to delay any pursuers till I am clear, is that understood? At any cost Sasuke must reach his destination. No matter who comes, you must stand your ground. No one in Konoha can defeat us. We are Orochimaru-sama's foremost subordinates. Sasuke was defeated all too easily, just like everyone else. We are the Sound 5, yelled Jirobo. Kakuzu looked at him as if he were an insect to be squashed. Why am I summoned? Questioned a deep voice. It was the ninja Kakuzu, without his partner Hidan. Kakuzu was quite the simple man. For him, it was all about profit. Something was profitable, or it was not. It was why he tolerated Akatsuki, and that idiot Hidan. That idiotic Jashin worshipper often had him wanting to destroy something large, preferably a mile or two of forest. Akatsuki gave him access to some excellent bounties, and his assets had grown considerably. But money was only one part of it. There was in fact no way he could refuse Pain and live. Pain had the Rinnegan, and that was something to be feared and respected. He watched as Pain and Itachi walked towards him, observing him closely. They had refused to speak via astral projection, instead asking him to be present physically. "Kakuzu, I need you to do some damage control near the border of Kiri and Konoha. Orochimaru has acted, and has kidnapped Uchiha Sasuke. Uzumaki Naruto is going after him. If Orochimaru's subordinates skirt the Kiri border and enter into Iwa, I will have to get involved. Uzumaki Naruto cannot be allowed to enter our territories." Kakuzu looked interested. "Isn't that the ninja that fights like Hashirama?" "Yes, that is him. If he moves towards our territories, I will have to move to stop him. It is inevitable. But for now, you need to wrest Sasuke from the hands of Orochimaru's subordinates, and move to within Kiri. There you will engage Uzumaki Naruto for a time, and then flee. We are not ready for a war yet," said Pain strongly. Itachi watched him closely, his Sharingan slowly spinning. Kakuzu nodded. "It shall be as you say. Who is in possession of the young Uchiha? Is it anyone I should be careful with?" Itachi stepped forward. "No, they are nothing. Some of Orochimaru's experiments are ferrying him, I believe. Dispose of them if they are too annoying, and execute the plan. We need to divert Naruto-kun from our lands." "What plan?" asked Kakuzu. "We will tell you presently," said Pain, motioning for Kakuzu to join them, which he did. "Pathetic. The Sound 5, huh? There are ninja in Konoha that can crush all of you effortlessly. I am tempted to do that myself, in fact. Did you know?" Here Kakuzu stopped. A very bright white light washed over everywhere they could see, and continued to sweep into the distance. The trees seemed to whisper to each other, and quiet fell over the entire woods. The Sound 5 looked at Kakuzu and shrugged. Inexplicably, a thick tendril of Kakuzu's hair shot out, taking Sasuke's container firmly. He looked around at the Sound 5, who were looking at him condescendingly. "Is the great Kakuzu afraid?" mocked Jirobo. Kakuzu stared at him, saying nothing. Then he turned to the forest, examining each tree closely. Then without a single word, he just disappeared with Sasuke held firm by his hair tendrils. "What the fuck was that?" yelled Tuya. "There must be enemies close by, ready yourselves. That must be why he left so abruptly. They must be formidable. Advance to level 2, shouted Sakan. The Sound 5's bodies turned crimson red, taking on demonic attributes. The malice of their chakras filled the air completely, but its effect was muted. They stared at the forest in surprise. Always when they used the curse seal too, nature seemed to abhor it. Forest animals always gave death wails, trees seemed to wither a little. Their chakra was impure, they knew that for a fact. It was that impurity that lent them their power. But here, the forest was stronger than ever. Their chakra seemed without effect, leaving them with a feeling that their power was being muted. Suddenly, they felt a presence behind them. Together the 5 turned as one, and found themselves staring at something that should be impossible. They found themselves staring at the Shodai Hokage, complete with katana, armor and the scroll of seals. His black hair whipped around in the gathering wind, and his green eyes exuded a sense of power that made Orochimaru-sama look like a kid with a temper tantrum. The Sound 5 looked at each other. They would complete their mission, no matter the cost. Together, they charged but to no avail. "Makuten Haijutsu, Jukai Kauten," said the first in a calm voice. Hundreds of trees burst out of the ground, hurtling towards them at an unbelievable speed. Jirobo tried to slam it away with his super strength, but another branch caught his wrists firmly. His legs were also bound tight. He was unable to make seals and got captured easily. Kidomaru was slammed down to the ground and trapped firmly by a huge root that sprouted out of the ground near him. Tuya however tried to use a genjutsu on the first, but to no avail. The first clasped his palms together in the serpent seal, causing large branches to blast out of the ground and bind Tuya. Sakan was unconscious, having been captured by a tree and squeezed mercilessly. Tuya felt the branches bear down on her, probably trying to incapacitate her. She dimly saw the same happen to the others. How futile, all this preparation for nothing. The last thing she saw was the Shodai Hokage smiling faintly as he shook his head and faded to become one with the tree behind him. Woodbunshine. Shit. I don't know how this is possible, but we were forced to fight the Shodai Hokage. I am sorry, Orochimaru-sama, we are powerless before him. He defeated us all with a single technique. We are so sorry, Orochimaru-sama. Her world became black as she fell into unconsciousness, her chakra drained by the tree that imprisoned her. Naruto smiled as he captured Orochimaru's subordinates easily. They were too weak, despite having those cursed seals Orochimaru seemed to be fond of. Even the diluted power of a wood clone from such a distance could capture those poor fools easily. Orochimaru never understood the power a pure entity contained. It was all about enhancement and growth for him. What happened, Naruto? Asked Kushina, who had returned to the hill. Naruto looked at her, noting the lack of strain in her chakra. She had been in a rather easy fight, apparently. He also noted Jiraiya looking pensive. I just incapacitated a few of Orochimaru's people. Sasuke was not with them, however Kushina began to look worried, but stopped when Naruto shot her a reassuring look. Don't worry, they will not escape Fire Country. They were foolish enough to travel by forests, and forests are my domain. It seems we have the identity of another Akatsuki member, he said. Who is it? Questioned Jiraiya. This was becoming too dangerous, he felt something off with this entire affair. Akatsuki seemed not to be trying hard enough, they did have an idea of Naruto's strength. So where the hell was Pain and Itachi? Where the hell was the imposter? Kakuzu, an assassin of Takia fought back in the old days, I had no idea he is still alive. I felt his chakra, he has become much stronger since our last fight. I can see him running towards the Kiri border with Sasuke unconscious. I will have to deal with him personally, said Naruto, letting his sage mode dissipate. Now that the shroud was off, he could trace Sasuke by the scent of his chakra. My ability to sense the Mangekyo is coming in useful at last, they cannot hide Sasuke from me now. Time to finish off that hairy zombie Kakuzu. What? Where are you going? Said Kushina urgently as she saw Naruto walking away. Naruto turned, and considered the situation. They were to leave soon for a mission to Kiri anyways, there was no point in having to double back and collect his mother. Kasan, Sasuke is being taken towards Kiri. We have our mission there anyway, so do you want to come along? We'll take Sasuke back on the way, invited Naruto. Kushina nodded enthusiastically. This was just perfect. It seems you have the situation well in hand, Naruto. I should get back to my research, and keeping tabs on Akatsuki. I need to find out how they were able to slip past Konoha's barrier technique, said Jiraiya. These breaches in security were alarming. Naruto nodded. Get Mito to help you, she designed that barrier after all. Kakashi, follow my trail with an Anbu team as fast as possible, with Tsunade's authorization of course. I and Kasan are leaving right now. Kakashi and Jiraiya disappeared. Kushina looked at her son. Let's go, Naruto. Let's finish this fast. Naruto nodded, and they both disappeared with their fastest sunshine, blurs covering a mile per jump. There was no way Akatsuki could hide from them now, not when he had felt their chakra. Kakuzu, you are the only one who has fought Hashirama in Akatsuki. You are the one who remembers his power, said Pain. I see. You want me to fight Uzumaki Naruto, I assume, said Kakuzu with certainty. Itachi nodded at this. Naruto-kun is an unknown quantity still, we cannot make an informed guess about him till we have intel about his true strength. You can gauge his strength for us, Kakuzu. He has the Kyuubi within him, after all, and he is pivotal to our plans when the time arrives. Pain needs to find out how strong Naruto is compared to Hashirama. Since you have fought Hashirama before, you can give us a fair assessment, said Itachi. Kakuzu snorted at this. The only one who could make Hashirama bring out his full strength was Madara. No one really knew his full strength. No, hear me out. It is true I can compare this Naruto kid to Hashirama and can give you intel on his strength, but I barely escaped alive the one time I faced Hashirama. If this kid even has a fraction of his strength. Are you saying you will lose to some kid? Questioned Itachi stoically. Kakuzu looked at him, and snorted once more. He had always held Itachi in respect, even more so these days. Something in the young Uchiha had changed, he had a feeling Itachi could even take on Pain if necessary. Believe what you wish, Itachi. You do not know how strong the Senju are. Your clan was no match for them, after all. But I will fight him. As you say, only I can provide you with a good assessment of his strength. "And I may land a bounty that may make me sinfully rich if I kill him," said Kakuzu. Kakuzu shook himself out of his memories as he deposited Sasuke on the ground. They were just within Kiri, having crossed the Konoha border minutes before. Kakuzu had taken out the paltry shinobi guarding the border with ease, making sure that the upcoming fight would be uninterrupted. Sasuke was bait, simple as that. If he had to fight a Makuten user, it had to be on his own terms. Pain had created such a situation. If the Akatsuki were to face a true Makuten user in the future, it would be best to gather info on his strength. The smell of a large bounty was very attractive to Kakuzu. He opened his bingo book to check on the latest updates on Uzumaki Naruto. Mei Terumi, Uchiha Itachi, Uzumaki Kushina, Senjutsu Nade. There. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Age, 14. Height, 5'11". Class, Beyond S-Class, True Strength unknown, possibly still increasing. Konoha's God of Shinobi. Very powerful Suiten user. Very powerful Doden user. Annihilated an Iwa army with Makuten, extremely skilled Shunshin user. Skilled Kenjutsu. Skilled Taijutsu. Bounties, Iwa, Sunafuli on site. This alone was enough to erase Kakuzu's misgivings as he stood there, waiting for Uzumaki Naruto to appear. Sasuke was just a useless lump, lying in his container. But then again, those Sound 5 had used a powerful barrier seal to confine him. Kakuzu waited impatiently, sure that Naruto would be here in a couple hours. "Here, I will even help him find me." Kakuzu unleashed his chakra, making sure it was felt for a large distance in every direction. If Uzumaki Naruto could not find him now, then he was not worth fighting. Naruto and Kushina were rushing through the land, using all their considerable expertise at body flicker. It was 2 hours since they left Konoha, and they had covered quite a long distance. Naruto's sensory field was at full awareness. He was able to pick up the smallest fluctuations in chakra in a 4-kilometer radius. He was following Sasuke's chakra trail rapidly. "Naruto, stop," said Kushina, pausing to find 4 Orochimaru followers, unconscious and trapped in a wood release technique. Naruto appeared in the midst of the unaware miscreants, and the trees binding them automatically receded into the ground. The 4 were arranged neatly on the ground, looking worse for wear. "Naruto, this was the same chakra that was shrouding the village. Orochimaru used the cursed seal upon those 50 shinobi, and forced them to emit chakra incessantly. That snake, if I find him," snarled Kushina. Naruto watched as she drew her blade, and moved to kill the Sound 5. He did not stop her. Within a second, their throats were slit. They had died a painless death. He smiled grimly. Orochimaru had lost some of his more important lieutenants. Before Naruto was done, he would lose a lot more. His grin slipped as he felt Kakuzu emitting his chakra impulses, as if to challenge him. He could feel his old enemy's eagerness and focus. The past always leaves its remnants, huh? Well, time to end Kakuzu. Annoying assassin. Be careful, Kasan. I sense Kakuzu ahead, he obviously wants to fight. You take Sasuke, and I will take care of that zombie. Kushina nodded, and they disappeared rapidly through the forest. Naruto concentrated, tracing Sasuke's and Kakuzu's chakra periodically, wanting to make sure that they were at the same place. It was barely half an hour later that Naruto and his mother found themselves at a gorge, interestingly devoid of trees. Naruto spied Kakuzu on the water with a container that undoubtedly held Sasuke. He could feel the young Uchiha's dormant chakra. He appeared in front of Kakuzu, Kushina behind him. Kakuzu turned around to face him. Naruto grinned, feeling a strange merging of consciousnesses in Kakuzu. It appeared as if he had gotten himself more hearts. You are here at last, Uzumaki Naruto. I was wondering if our plan would work. It did, said Kakuzu. Kushina disappeared, only to appear at the top of the gorge with Sasuke's container. Kakuzu made no move to stop her, he was staring at Naruto too intently. You can have Sasuke, if you want, he is of no concern to me. Perhaps if his bounty were higher, but I digress. Your bounty will make me rich for a long, long time. So, show me what you can do with the Makuten. Show me if you really can match Hashirama, said Kakuzu in a tone of bored challenge. Naruto frowned at him. I am Hashirama, you fool. It seems those hearts of yours have dulled your instinct. One for each nature, You want to kill me? Is that why you kidnapped Sasuke? I thought the Akatsuki wanted my Baiju? Asked Naruto curiously. Kakuzu shook his head as Kushina watched them converse. Kyuubi will reform later, if we kill you now. We can capture that mindless beast easily at our leisure. And your bounty will fund me for a long time. I have fought the Shodai Hokage, and have lived to tell the tale. Die, Uzumaki Naruto. You are but a pretender, an imitator. At this, Kakuzu's tentacles of hair drilled into the earth, shooting out to capture Naruto, who watched on amusedly. At the last second he dodged a hair tentacle that would have torn him apart, and caught two others with his bare hands. With a yell, he flung Kakuzu by his hair right into the wall of the gorge, quite a distance away. I will end this now, you heartless monster, said Naruto with a grin. Suten, Mizu no Dangan. The waters of the gorge boiled, and multiple drills of water shot out of the gorge, all converging towards Kakuzu's crater in a cone. Each of them as thick as the trunk of a full-grown man. Naruto winced slightly as he saw the water jets drill into Kakuzu's location. He saw the wall crumble slightly at the pressure of his technique. Abruptly, the wall of the gorge exploded in a hail of fire, and he saw Kakuzu's body being stitched back by that horrendous hair of his. Beside him, however, were three monstrous masked beings of black, each with a nature very strong in them. Raiten, Fuuten, and Katen. This will be quite the fight, thought Naruto as he saw one monster open its mask to show a forming ball of fire. Another mask opened to reveal a gathering ball of wind. Naruto readied his own technique as he watched Kakuzu, now fully stitched back, yell out his technique. Katen Kajirashi. Naruto faced the incoming wall of fire, fed and sustained by the wind technique. It was so huge enough to swallow up the entire gorge and hot enough to evaporate the water. The waters rumbled once more as trees were born in its depths. Naruto slammed his pals together, yelling out his counter technique. Makuten, Shinboku no Tobichi. Finish this fast, Naruto thought Kushina as she watched a veritable forest blast through the gorge waters, seemingly born in its depths. How tall were those trees? She watched as the multitudes of trees grew to monstrous proportions and rushed forward to oppose the incoming storm of fire. Fire met forest in a huge explosion. Naruto watched gleefully as the force of his wood release carried the firestorm back to that old assassin. When forest meets fire, it results in a forest fire, you idiot, and I control the forest. I will bury you today, Kakuzu. Dead or alive, I will bury you. The sun was setting, causing its light to wash balefully over the landscape, casting the two men standing on the top of the gorge into sharp relief. Pain stood with Itachi, the two of them taking in the devastation of the land. No part of the once beautiful gorge was left unscathed, not the land, not the rocks, not even the water. The water was also churning agitatedly, testifying to the ferocity of the battle that was fought there. It appears that Kakuzu fought with all the elements, but used Katen and Fuuten primarily. It appears Naruto-kun answered twice with Makuten, but used mostly Suten later. I can see the remnants of the chakras used, they are still strong in the air. Ironic, Naruto-kun defeated Kakuzu using only the elements. Too bad Kakuzu is dead. Itachi looked over the land with his Sharingan, trying to reconstruct the battle that was fought there. Uchiha Itachi was not called the prodigy of prodigies just for his supreme skill in battle. His mastery of the Sharingan was absolute, some said it even approached that of Madara. Pain strode over to Kakuzu's corpse, and his Rinnegan started shining. He clasped his hands in the ram seal, and turned to Itachi. He is dead, but will not remain dead for long. I still have need of him. Itachi's eyes widened at this statement. Did Pain actually mean what he think he meant? He stared with rising fascination as the leader of Akatsuki intoned. Geto, Rin Tensei no Jutsu. A statue of the King of Hell rose out of the ground ominously, and swallowed up Kakuzu. Itachi was unable to believe his eyes. Just how far did the power of the Rinnegan reach? To play so callously with life and death. He was forced to admit it. Pain was every bit as formidable as Hashirama believed him to be. He watched as Kakuzu stepped out of the statue, fully revived and staring incredulously and fearfully at Pain. Itachi found himself feeling much the same, only he did not show it. He had thought that he could beat Pain in a fight now that his Mangekyo was eternal. But now he wondered how strong the leader really was. I did not resurrect you for nothing, Kakuzu said Pain impassively, paying no attention to the reactions of his companions. Or in Itachi's case, an absolute lack of reaction. What did you learn in your battle with Uzumaki Naruto? I can see the chakras that were used in this place. Kakuzu schooled his stunned expression back into one of indifference, but his awe did not escape Itachi's trained eyes. Itachi noted that Kakuzu did not have 5 hearts this time, but only his own. You pulled me from death, how is that even possible? And why don't I have all my hearts? Kakuzu asked. Pain's eyes narrowed slightly, but he answered. That is not your concern, Kakuzu. Just know that I am outside life and death. Now answer me, unless you want me to send you back, he said in a smoldering voice. Kakuzu looked extremely taken aback at this threat. He knew Pain could carry out that threat easily. Fine. You want to hear how a boy barely in his teens destroyed me, I who have fought against even the Shodai Hokage and lived? You had. Better be careful, Pain. I know nothing of how strong you truly are, but I can say the same about Uzumaki Naruto. I could not make him fight at full strength. All I know is this: only you, and possibly Itachi, can beat him. He can grind all the other Akatsuki to dust easily. We would have to be together to fight him and live. Let me tell you how the battle went. Kakuzu stared with apprehension as he saw the multitude of trees descending upon him, burning ominously with the fire he himself had thrown. He observed that Naruto's skill with Makuten was noteworthy, not quite at Hashirama's level but headed there rapidly. He noted that the trees that rushed towards him seemed somewhat more potent than Hashirama's own trees. His Jung lashed out in all directions seeking to cut through the mass of burning trees descending on him, succeeding partially. Once again, it was his Jung against Makuten, and once again he was being overwhelmed. Frustration took over Kakuzu as the hundreds of massive trees converged on him like vengeful serpents, burning gleefully. He evaded most of them, but one tree snaked behind him and branched out forcefully, catching him off guard. His arm was torn off, but he had ways to repair that. His arm was stitched back by his most powerful technique. With it he was practically unkillable. He saw Naruto smiling as the wood release raged about him unabated, seeking to destroy completely. But he could not keep this up for long. The trees were too large and he had to use powerful body flickers to evade them. One of his hearts gathered wind chakra on a massive scale and another heart ignited it with a powerful fire technique. Fire blasted in all directions from Kakuzu's position, a deluge so hot that it actually melted most of the trees around him. He could see Naruto frowning, and letting the remaining trees merge back into the earth. He sighed in relief. Makuten was too hard to counter effectively for someone who was not Uchiha Madara. It did not matter, though. He had a good idea of Naruto's skill with Makuten with the use of that single technique. Now to escape alive from this battle. He snarled as he suddenly hit the earth face first, his jaw breaking from the impact. The boy was a little too skilled with the Shunshine. Stitching himself back to normalcy, he furiously attacked the boy with Daijutsu, but it was in vain. He received his second surprise of the day. This was like fighting Hashirama and Madara at the same time. The boy obviously was a prodigious sensor ninja, and had Hashirama's grace and strength. Kakuzu's every punch was effortlessly parried and his kicks were cleanly evaded. It was almost careless. His deadly hair tentacles dug into the earth, trying to pierce his opponent and augmenting his Daijutsu, but it was of no use. Every attack was evaded, and returned to him with deadly force. He grunted as Naruto caught his punch in a deadly grip and broke his arm at the elbow joint. The boy's speed was very high. He could only watch as Naruto without pause caught his other wrist and slammed an elbow into his chest, then crashed a knee into his abdomen and fluidly delivered a kick that sent him flying several hundred yards away. He took back his Raiden heart, pouring his complete chakra into the Katen and Fuuden hearts. Time to overwhelm his opponent with his strongest fire technique. How Edo Hadoarashi, he yelled, and the air heated up completely for half a mile in all directions, a prelude to an unbelievable fire technique. He saw the ground shaking, and cracks appeared everywhere around Naruto. For a large distance around them, the air itself began catching fire. The heat was so intense that the ground itself started melting. Kakuzu smirked nastily, and formed the ox seal to release the full power of the technique. The air turned white hot and combusted spontaneously, deadly white fire blasting the entire gorge all at once. There was no way the boy would have escaped from this technique. No way. A technique was a manifestation of supremely hot fire for a few moments, but devastating in its effect. He let his massive firestorm die down, observing the damage done to the area. All the water in the gorge was gone. The ground was glass for half a mile in all directions, testifying to the power of the technique. Kakuzu slowly walked towards the huge cloud of smoke drifting from Naruto's direction, sure that his opponent was probably a smudge of ash by now. He couldn't be more mistaken, for as the smoke cleared he saw something impossible. Absolutely impossible. It was a wall of water, 10 meters thick, 60 meters high, and 1 mile long. Kakuzu stared at the miraculous technique, unable to believe his eyes. He saw Naruto standing behind his water wall, holding his palms out. Kakuzu cursed fervently. There was no way his fire technique could have gotten through a water wall this thick. He began to run away hurriedly, flashing through the land away from his enemy. This was getting too dangerous. There was no telling what could be done with that monstrous wall of water. Makuten, Mokuzai no Kimashu. The ground started to rumble everywhere, and huge pillars of wood arced up to form a massive dome so huge that it confined him, Naruto. Along with the humongous wall of water. Kakuzu knew he was done for, he had to fight for his life now. A single shaft of sunlight illuminated the otherwise dark prison of wood, throwing Naruto's water wall into sharp relief. The silence was deafening. "Got me, huh?" called Kakuzu, hearing his voice echo around the huge dome in which they were imprisoned. The creation of this dome of more than a mile in diameter confirmed his suspicions more than anything. This boy would be as strong as Hashirama, possibly even more. He could make out Naruto slam his palms together and yell out his technique. Suten, Mandara no Jin. He could only stare open-mouthed. There was no doubt that all the water in the gorge was in that water wall. Naruto's technique caused it to rush towards Kakuzu at a dangerous velocity, forming into tens of thousands of water snakes. Those fangs looked very sharp. Kakuzu knew he could not overwhelm water manipulation at this level. No fire could burn an entire lake. The snakes of water began piling up upon one another, all the water transforming into the deadly creatures. As far as he could tell, there were about 1,000,000 of those snakes of water rushing at him in a wall spanning the diameter of the dome. He narrowed his eyes as he charged towards his doom with his Jonghu lashing out. If he was going to be taken down, he would die fighting. The last thing he felt as he was torn down to his last shreds was nothing. But the last thing he saw was the wood dome dissipating and all the water flowing into the empty gorge dutifully. He closed his eyes and let go as the earth claimed him in his burial. Itachi listened closely as Kakuzu described the prowess of his old nemesis, though he knew it not. He had expected Kakuzu to die, but not expected Pain to resurrect him. In his mind, it had been the perfect solution. Cause the death of an Akatsuki, give Naruto more information on Akatsuki and at the same time give him more experience. But things were spiraling out of control. Pain would now have an accurate idea of Naruto's strength, and he would desist from sending any more Akatsuki against the reborn Shodai. Itachi could imagine the scale of the battles Naruto and Pain would fight. They would be a natural disaster. Or if he and Pain fought, the two of them and himself were in a different league as shinobi. Eternal Mangekyo, Makuten and the Rinnegan. All existing at the same time and pit against one another. All I can hope is the scales are in Konoha's favor. What else can you do, Pain? What other powers are you hiding? Naruto stared as he came face to face with what was Kirigakure in this age. The last he saw the place, it was a backwater village with a few ramshackle dud-and-grown houses. The first war had been generous to Kirigakure, as many strong shinobi settled in its marshlands, not wanting the strife of the war. In the end, Kiri's special attribute as a haven from war turned it into a war-torn mess. Ironic, thought Naruto. Shinobi who wished not to fight, that was ridiculous. Truly, strife would always persist in the world. What he really wanted as Hashirama, and now as Naruto, was that strife existed for the right reasons. And the only reason that seemed right to him was to protect those close to you. Protect those you held precious. Strife born of malice was cancerous, and dangerous. He and Madara had debated the self-same point for many years. Can two people eliminate the malice in their hearts and converse as enlightened individuals? Philosophy aside, he watched as his mother withdrew a note and passed it to a guard standing in front of the massive gate. He closed his eyes and extended his senses in all directions, seeking to feel the strength of the shinobi of Kirigakure. 3 shinobi, strong above all else. I can sense 2 fire-based bloodlines in a single person, the Godai Mizukage, Mei Terumi. A dense chakra, the bearer has a very high capacity. I can tell he is young from his uncultured emotions. And what is this, Byakugan? How did the Byakugan come to be here? I must find out more. Welcome back to Kirigakure, Kushina-sama. Mei-sama awaits you in the Mizukage office along with Aosama. Follow me, said the guard, beckoning Kushina along as he disappeared into Kirigakure. Naruto kept his senses at full alert as he followed his mother through the village. They had been attacked one too many times during this journey. Most of the chakras in the village were nothing feeling alarmed about, they were very average. But now and then he felt a chakra too strong, or one that was being actively suppressed. Kiri obviously had its share of powerful shinobi. He sedately followed his mother and the Kiri shinobi as they made their way towards the imposing office of the Mizukage, keeping his senses at full alert. Kasan, who in the Mizukage's employ has the Byakugan. I could sense that Dujutsu very clearly indeed. It is a single eye, I presume? He asked Kushina, who was looking around with an air of preoccupation. Kushina opened her mouth to answer, but was beaten to it by one of their Kiri escorts. You sense the Byakugan of Aosama, Naruto-san. I know he got it as a conquest of war, but do not know much else about it. Naruto nodded. At this, there was not much he could do about it if it were a conquest at war, at least not openly. The Byakugan was an extremely coveted dojutsu of Konoha, and this was the only time someone had actually succeeded in taking those eyes from their true owners. They paused as they reached a beautifully carved wooden door in the corridor. The sheer amount of chakra that filled the room that lay beyond convinced him beyond doubt that it was the Mizukage beyond the room. He watched along with his mother as their guard tapped the door twice and announced them. The door opened slowly and the guard beckoned them inside. Kushina eagerly ran inside, throwing decorum to the dogs as she flew into the arms of somebody Naruto could not see. To the left of the hugging duo stood a man with spiked hair and obscure dye. This must be the owl that everyone talked about. Kushina slowly disengaged herself from her hug to reveal a vision of beauty. Naruto had to admit he had not seen a woman more beautiful in both of his lives, so stunning was her form. She wore resplendent robes of blue, and the hat of the Mizukage sat on her head to mark her for the cage she was. Welcome, Uzumaki Naruto. Welcome to Kirigakure, greeted the Mizukage in a melodious voice and meeting his gaze with authority. Naruto answered with a calm stare, mastering his emotions frantically. It would not do for him to gawk at the woman like some common teenager, which would be an embarrassment. You are a teenager, you idiot. You might be older in mind than everyone in this room put together, but you still have to answer to the urges of your undeveloped body. I can't believe you are lusting after someone other than your beloved Mito, insinuated Kurama. Naruto hissed at the perverted Baijiu mentally. It had the knack of dragging out discussions he was most uncomfortable with. Would you stop that? This is the teenage Naruto lusting after the Mizukage, as you very well know. I am no longer an old man, you annoying fox. I have all the urges of a teenager, damn my senju vitality. It is really not helping matters here. Naruto could hear the fox chuckling in response as the Mizukage strode towards him sensually. He tried to keep himself from blushing as the beautiful woman bent down and kissed his cheek softly, saying, I have always wanted to meet Kushina's son. She told me so much about when you were a little child during our rebellion. She is like my sister, you know, your mother. Those years during the war made us closer than even family. He inclined his head slightly, showing respect in the gesture as he noted the resemblance between his mother and Materumi as they stood together. It was not their faces that held the greatest resemblance, nor the features of their bodies. No, it was their chakras that burned almost identical to each other, bearing the Uzumaki potential for longevity in it. Thank you, Mizukage-sama, I had not known you were this close with the ruler of Kiri, Kasan, said Naruto with some amazement. Kushina smiled but suddenly lost her smile as she turned to Mei. Did you get Sasuke-kun? We sent him ahead with a clone, is he alright? Asked Kushina frantically. Ao stepped forward and reassured Kushina soothingly, we received your Uchiha, Kushina-sama, and he is under care from some of our foremost medical experts. His confinement and triggering of the cursed seal has had some unknown effects on him. He will have little to no control over his emotions. Our mind readers will penetrate his psyche for any. No, said Naruto firmly. Ao, Mei and even Kushina looked at him with surprise on their faces. No. I appreciate the friendships between the three of you, but I will not allow someone of other nationality to look at the mind of Konoha shinobi. Kushina shook her head desperately. Naruto, you do not know what damage Sasuke may have sustained. Please, lay aside your loyalty to Konoha and let us go to the aid of Sasuke-kun. Ao snorted as he looked at Naruto and sized him up. He is only a rookie jounin, Kushina-sama, and must be under your command. You can overrule him if you so wish. Not to mention, he is your son, he said forcefully. Naruto slowly got up and walked to Ao, his anger rising by the second. The Mizukage watched him carefully as he stalked towards her right-hand man like a predator. Quiet, thief. You know nothing about me. Kasan, please request the Mizukage to yield Sasuke to me now, I can heal him just fine, said Naruto as he stared balefully at the occupants of the room. Something did not smell right to him here. Mei and Ao were exuding emotions of anxiety and trepidation. But what amazed him was his mother. She too felt anxious and on edge. What was going on here? Naruto rounded on Kushina when he was faced with these emotions and stony silence. I should have sent Sasuke back to Konoha after I defeated Kakuzu. I sent him here on your insistence. Why do you hesitate to ask for Sasuke to be returned, Kasan? Boy, you understand nothing of these matters, they are far above you. Leave it to the US, young boys have no place in matters that decide the fate of nations. Leave now, or else. Snarled Ao, and Naruto felt the anger in the man. His eyes narrowed as he considered his situation. The Kiri shinobi were acting oddly, and that meant that their mission was being compromised. Kushina had closed her eyes after she heard what Ao had said to her son, knowing it would not end well. Naruto held out both palms, and a blazing blue ball of chakra shimmered into existence in them. He looked at the Mizukage with hard eyes. Take me to Sasuke now, or else. Blue light cast everything into sharp relief as Naruto held the Rasengan in each hand, looking impassively at the leader of the mist. Naruto could not believe what was happening. These were the people his mother trusted? Was her judgment truly so weak? Any act of aggression upon our Mizukage will be considered an act of war, brat. Do you really want to bring war down upon Konoha so early after it coasted over the last one? So selfish. He shook his head. Naruto stared at the man with disbelief. You refuse to return Sasuke to us, and you accuse me of not sitting back? Why do you wish to poison our relationship so fast? I trust you, Mizukage-sama, to an extent. And that too only because of Koa-san. I will not extend that courtesy to you anymore if you insist upon this foolishness. I will not hesitate to attack you if you do not comply with my demands. Bring me Sasuke now, said Naruto loudly. The Mizukage gave him a long stare, and nodded to Ao. The one-eyed nin grunted and motioned for Naruto to join him, Naruto allowing the Rasengan to fade out of existence with a flick of his wrists. He followed Ao, his chakra rearing in readiness for battle. One wrong move, and he would make them pay. No one would take his family from him and escape. No one. Kushina sat back heavily upon a seat opposite Mei, a few tears leaking out of her eyes. Mei sighed as she saw Naruto being led out by Ao to Sasuke. The process should be over by now, and the plan would go one step further. I hate lying to him, Mei. I hate that I am betraying him every single day, that I am made to betray him every single day. You should never have made the deal with him, I would be better off. Do not say it, Kushina, said Mei quickly. Please do not say it. There was no way I would let you be taken away from us, not after what you had done for Kiri. I would have made a deal with anybody to bring you back. But him, he is different. It would be folly to oppose him, Kushina. Perhaps you can find a way to work around his instructions? Kushina lowered her eyes and replied softly. I have managed to work around a few things, you know. His instructions to me were very specific and they did induce many loopholes. I am using them to keep much from him. I am trying hard, Mei. But it's really hard to imagine what will happen when Naruto learns what I am doing to him and Konoha. The Mizukage remained silent, knowing her platitudes would never really succeed in cheering Kushina up. Indeed, she felt enormous guilt for putting her in this position. If only she had not agreed out of pure desperation to that man's offer all those years ago. She remembered the day this fiasco had begun, the day they were hardest pressed by the forces of the Yondaime Mizukage, Yagura. The bloodline wars had heated up to unbearable levels and only the strength she and Kushina wielded held the rebels together. There was no doubt that even if one of them were killed, the rebels would disintegrate. Yagura had deduced the selfsame thing, and had attacked them with overwhelming force during the night, when they were resting. It was fire and death everywhere. The loyalists had taken the rebels unawares and were decimating them ruthlessly. The location of the camps were meant to be secret, and guarded. For the life of her she could not see just how they were given away. There was no chance of betrayal, she trusted every last man in her force. Kushina, they are attacking us from all directions. Let's take different halves of the opposition, we could still drive them away, Mei yelled. Kushina unsheathed her sword and disappeared without answering, and Mei knew she had gone to take care of the army attacking from the western side. Without hesitation she rushed to the eastern side, intent on annihilating the fools Yagura sent to oppose her. This was the problem with ninja who were cage level and beyond. Unless opposed by ninja of the same caliber, they could not be stopped. She knew that her strength was more than enough to deal defeat to those who opposed them today. The sight of the misfits who attacked them confirmed this more than anything else. They were just missing nin. With no warning or prelude she unleashed enormous water dragons and fire dragons to meet the opposition, causing elements that were opposed to each other to work together in a rare harmony. Fire dragons burnt the ninja where they stood, and water dragons crushed them mercilessly, and still she did not relent. Waves upon waves of lava erupted from where she stood, simply swallowing up the poor fools who were no doubt served up as fodder. Mei started as she saw her lava release drive back the rogue missing nin. An enormous explosion tore through their camp, destroying everything in its path and creating a large mushroom-like cloud of dust. He too was thrown forcefully into the ground, protected only by the vitality of her Uzumaki body. As the dust cleared, she saw the broken bodies of shinobi everywhere, both rebel and loyalist. She shelved the sorrow that threatened to overwhelm her completely. This part of her army was completely annihilated. The shinobi under her were loyal beyond belief, and she felt as if a part of her was dead. She got up and ran forwards hurriedly, intending to see how Kushina was faring. After a few body flickers, she stood near the epicenter of the explosion and saw two people fighting furiously. She saw Kushina attack her opponent with her trademark kenjutsu, but Mei saw that her strength was flagging. Kushina's opponent wore a black cloak with red cloud designs, and his face was obscured by a hood. That was all could be seen of his features, but Mei could see how effortlessly he blocked Kushina's strikes with his own katana. It was as if he could anticipate any strike from any direction, and his strength exceeded Kushina's. Kushina would not win this battle. Before she could make a move, she felt herself being pulled forward by some unknown force. The stranger caught her by her collar, and the next thing she knew, she was hurled into the ground with terrific force. She groaned with pain, knowing that multiple bones were broken and there was no way she could join in now. She watched as the stranger drew back his sword and slashed at Kushina. The might of the blow was unnatural. Kushina was hurled several yards away and her sword was shattered. Mei could not believe it. Kushina was superior in technique, but the man was superior in some other unknown way. He moved like he could not be defeated. Mei watched as the man appeared in the air above Kushina and thrust his sword through her stomach. Tears ran down her eyes as she saw her best friend impaled by some unknown sword, wielded by an unknown fighter. Kushina was undoubtedly dead. Her chakra could not be felt anymore. Kushina would never see her little son again. Mei felt agony at this. Her closest friend's family was now torn apart in every way possible. Kushina was killed in a land that had little to do with her, and she would never see that son she loved so much ever again. Slowly she staggered up and assumed a battle stance. She would either kill this stranger, or be killed. Amazing. You can still fight after being hit by that, Mei Terumi. I wish to join your forces, said the stranger in a deep voice. Mei stared at him, unable to believe the stranger's words. He had killed much of her forces, and he said he wanted to join in? You killed them all. You killed Kushina. I will kill you, she said in a cold voice, gathering every last drop of chakra in her body. The stranger waved his hand in a dismissive gesture, and she could actually feel the disdain he emanated. No one can kill me. No one is strong enough to kill me, not since. Here his voice faded, but picked up soon enough. I will make a deal with you, Mei Terumi. Listen carefully. No deals, snarled Mei, and moved to attack him but was thrown back forcefully into the ground again. The stranger appeared next to her, looking down impassively. Keep quiet and listen. You must agree I am worthy enough to join your cause, yes? At least by measure of strength? He asked. Mei was beside herself by now. What cause? She snarled. You have put back the bloodline supporters by several years. These were our most loyal people. How dare you mock me after killing everyone that matters to me, you? I can bring them back, he said, causing Mei to shut up. I can bring them all back. I will do so if you let me join your army, he said to Mei, who stared with her jaw hanging open. But she believed him. For some reason she believed him. Decide quickly, he said, walking to the side. To her, there was no choice. She would do anything to get her teammates and army back, for she would do anything to have people like them beside her. Mei sighed, looking at Kushina and coming out of her reminiscences. The stranger had kept his word, all right. But he had done more than just that. Much more. She remembered the day she had given assent to the stranger's plan. It was since then that things had begun to go out of her control. They won the war, the rebels of Kiri. They had won the war with the assistance of that strange fighter. She herself would never have been able to defeat Yagura in single combat if not for that stranger's help. Why do you think he needs Uchiha blood, anyway? We know he is of the Akatsuki, but we know nothing about his abilities. I should never have gotten embroiled with him. I think Akatsuki are playing both sides of the board. They are trying to control everything, said Kushina, running a hand over her sheathed katana. Mei said nothing, choosing silence. She knew the situation was wearing Kushina down. Being made to betray her village and family was eating her will. She feared Kushina would take the extreme step. She would not allow that to happen. But whoever he is connected to pain, said Kushina, continuing listlessly. To Mei, it seemed as if she had thought about this any number of times. But this time, Her curiosity won out. Pain? Asked Mei. Who is he? Leader of the Akatsuki. He is powerful beyond belief. Tsunade-sama told me to share this piece of intel with you. Pain possesses the Rinnegan. Mei's eyes widened at this, and happenings of the past years began falling into place. This explained much. If anything can bring people back from the dead, it is Rinnegan. That is why I think he has something to do with Pain. But I cannot do anything to reveal his existence, and I have tried, said Kushina sadly. She was already being forced to share crucial intel by that man. She had given up much of Konoha's secrets, including the truth about Itachi. The only thing she had kept secret somehow, was the fact that Senju Hashirama walked the earth again as her son. The Rinnegan? Mei whispered, unable to believe it. Powers were awakening in the shinobi world that were best left buried in the mists of legend. If a bearer of the Rinnegan existed, she feared for the elemental nation's future. A Rinnegan user could bring every nation to its knees single-handedly. Only one question gnawed at her. Why has he not acted? Pain fears my son. At least, he is wary of my son. Naruto fought him to a stalemate near Danzakugai. I think no one has ever done that before. So he fights from within politics and shadows, and gathers strength at the same time. Here Kushina's face firmed, and she presented a missive to the Mizukage. The Hokage has sent you this missive, requesting your cooperation in forming a response team to Akatsuki. Will you help us? Mei stood up, and took the scroll. I will. For now, you are tied to him, but I can at least help this way to break your enslavement. I can make amends for my foolish decision on that day. Naruto watched Sasuke as the young Uchiha lay sedated and unconscious. He had not allowed the mind healers of Kirei to mess around with Sasuke's mind, as the damage done to it was beyond horrible. In fact, what fascinated Naruto was that Sasuke had not snapped already. In his place, anyone would have just let go, given into their instincts. He is not just anyone, after all. Ao had left him alone with the Uchiha after another round of intimidation. This time he had flared his chakra enough to bring everyone in the hospital down to their knees, and Ao had covered his Byakugan with both hands. But Naruto had sensed in the man no real malice, only a need to protect. He could relate to that, but not at the cost of his own. Two medics remained to observe him. He had let them, of course. Two evil influences fought for Sasuke's insanity, his Mangekyo Sharingan, and his cursed seal. Not to mention the trauma Itachi had put him through. Naruto formed a complex series of hand seals as he molded chakra into its healing form. Yin chakra to contain the Mangekyo's darkness. Still Sasuke is strong enough, only my Yin chakra can overcome the Mangekyo's power. Yang chakra to wipe out the remnants of that disgusting cursed seal. Makuten chakra to strengthen his eyes, and to stave off blindness for a much longer time. I will heal you, Sasuke. His palms shone green, and his already green eyes seemed bright like living embers as he laid his hands upon the prone Uchiha. The medics watched with round eyes as Naruto used all the talent of his previous life to split the flow of his chakra into three streams. He wove Yin to overwhelm the malice of the Mangekyo Sharingan, and simultaneously he routed Yang chakra to ruthlessly crush Orochimaru's trickery. Then, exactly as he did for Makuten, he fused Yin and Yang to create life. Life he granted to the deteriorating eyes of Sasuke. He could feel Sasuke healing in multiple ways as he continued. Slowly, he let the healing recede as his job was completed. Sasuke would be near normal the next time he woke, and they would leave for home soon enough. He had no doubt the missive would have reached the Mizukage. His mother would have seen to that. He could sense Sasuke's vitals stabilizing, and his chakra was healthier than ever. Now it was up to Sasuke to control his emotions and his eyes. Things in the shinobi world were boiling, and the nations were stirring. His sense of urgency to complete this mission was increasing. Even at the cost of modesty, he had to admit one thing: only few people could truly oppose him, and Akatsuki numbered high among those few. Pain was a real threat, a very real threat. He had to grow as strong as he was as Hashirama to safely oppose someone like the leader of Akatsuki. This war with the Akatsuki won't be like the war between the Senju and Uchiha. That war basically boiled down to me and Madara. This time, the entire shinobi world will be involved. I feel it. I must prepare in earnest for what Akatsuki will bring down upon us. The flaw was made from within, there is no doubt about it. Someone in Konoha's barrier core created that hole so they could smuggle Sasuke-kun out. It appears we either have an infiltrator or a traitor within our midst. He must be found and destroyed as fast as possible, said Mito, looking critically at the people in front of her. In front of her were the Council of Three, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi. And Danzo, the old warhawk. Word was received that Naruto had destroyed an Akatsuki and retrieved Sasuke. The trio had supposedly continued on to Karagakure in furtherance of their mission. She had finished her diagnosis of the barrier with Jiraiya, and they had presented their findings to the ruling council. Who could have done such a thing? Grunted Danzo. Mito whipped her head around to face him. People forgot that even though Tobirama was the master of sensing chakra, Mito was the mistress of sensing emotions. And she sensed from Danzo frustration at failure and tightly leashed anger. Not to mention a smug self-righteousness. He had something to do with this. And if that was ever proved, we need to move on to more important matters. The message said Uchiha Sasuke was retrieved and contact was made with Kiri. Were there any details about who was defeated by Naruto? Who was this Akatsuki? Questioned Danzo, smoothly diverting the attention of the assembled shinobi. Homura straightened himself, and answered. It was Kakuzu, an old assassin of Takigakure. You remember what sensei told us, don't you Danzo? He asked. Danzo nodded, as did Koharu. They were all knew of Kakuzu. What is it you were told? Asked Tsunade calmly. Koharu turned to answer, and all those assembled looked attentive. The old kunoichi started speaking. Back when me, Hiruzen, Danzo and Homura learned at the feet of the Nii-Dime Hokage, we were taught the arts of high-level assassination. Hiruzen was the kind of fighter who turned the tide of an entire battle, and was a competent assassin. But even Hiruzen was nothing compared to Danzo in assassination. Tobirama-sensei always said Danzo was the best assassin he had ever seen, well, the second best. Danzo continued from here. No one noticed Mito's eyes narrowing. Sensei always told me to use the shadows. To be like Kakuzu. Kakuzu was the one who sparked the first war. Back then Taki was a very prosperous nation. And they were very influential. But our Shodai gave us the edge in every battle. No one even dared to attack Konoha when he reigned. Konoha stood supreme with Hashirama-sama as our Hokage, and with all the Senju behind him. We were unstoppable. Taki saw us as a threat, and they wanted to stop our meteoric rise. Danzo sipped his glass of water, noticing the pain and sorrow Mito was beginning to show. Not even they were foolish enough to attack Senju Hashirama of the Wood Release. Not head-on. They thought they could break him another way, the fools. They trained a young shinobi named Kakuzu for that very purpose. One day, Kakuzu penetrated our barrier with ease. To this day we do not know how. He penetrated the barrier, and here Danzo paused and looked at Mito with alarm. Rage twisted Mito's face and her chakra poured out in waves. Their teacups shattered, but suddenly Mito seemed to master herself. She looked around at those assembled emotionlessly, and spoke. He killed our daughter. Taki had sent a large force with their cage to distract Hashirama, and once he was at the border that scum Kakuzu snuck in and killed my daughter. She was only 3, you know. So beautiful. He killed her and left, said Mito, tears slowly making their way down her beautiful face. Every shinobi filled the room with their chakra and rage, remembering this injustice to their first. Kakashi's eye had involuntarily morphed to Mangekyo Sharingan, and the 2 remaining Sannin were livid. Homura and Koharu were downcast. Danzo continued the tale, seeing that Mito was too lost in her grief so long buried. Sensei said it drove Hashirama-sama mad for some time. The Shodai always loved with his entire heart, not like our sensei who was much more reserved. It is said that as Hashirama-sama gazed upon the corpse of his daughter, every building in Konoha fell down in pieces due to the might of his chakra. No one had really seen the full extent of his power before, not even Uchiha Madara. By then, he had tamed all 9 Baijuo, and they were little more than his pets. The entirety of Konoha wanted the blood of Taki for this slight, and they stood behind Hashirama as one. But Hashirama went alone to Taki with the Baijuo, and wiped out the entire village. He let the Baijuo loose on the village, and he dealt with all their shinobi personally. The sight of him and the 9 Baijuo annihilating an entire country by themselves terrified the nations and gave him the title he is known by. That is the truth of the first ninja war. That is the true might of Konoha. Danzo looked positively elated at the pride on the faces of the shinobi and Hokage. This was the time to air his proposal. And that is the status I wish for Konoha to have once more, he said, gaining the complete attention of the posse. He saw Mito looking at him suspiciously. He did not wish to use her personal tragedy to further his purpose, but there was no other alternative. Listen well to my proposal, Hokage-sama and elite shinobi of Konoha. Look, you idiot, I am trying to tell you something important. Your dear mother is not what she seems to be, you must be careful, whispered Kurama in Naruto's mind. Naruto was traveling to Kumagakure with Sasuke and Do. As they breezed through the forest, Kurama kept on harping about his mother's supposed duplicity. He himself had sensed some conflict in his mother's mind, true. But he didn't really believe she was up to anything dangerous or questionable. He did understand that everyone had their dirty laundry, he himself was no exception. You have more than most. But leaving her own son, however wise and strong, to go alone to a nearly hostile nation? Hashirama. Were you always this stupid, or did you get so when you awoke in this life? Kushina literally pushed Yutikumo while she anointed herself Konoha's liaison to Kiri. Doesn't that say something? Asked the Kyuubi sarcastically. Naruto shook his head, also sensing for the approach of any Kumo ninja. My mother is not one to be wary of. She obviously has personal business she does not care to share with me, and I respect that. But she would not do anything against the village, Kyuubi, said Naruto stubbornly. Your naivete never ceases to amaze me, said Kurama, snorting, and retreated deep into the seal. Naruto turned to Sasuke. How do your eyes feel? He asked. He was not sure how much he had healed Sasuke, really. The fact was that the curse mark and the Mangekyo Sharingan had never existed in the same body before, and even he could not predict accurately what effect it would have upon the victim. Sasuke did not reply for a minute, and Naruto felt in him boiling emotions. Recent revelations about his brother combined with the stressful happenings of late had thoroughly changed the young Uchiha. My eyes feel good, thank you, said Sasuke. Naruto's eyebrows rose. This was remarkable. Sasuke was actually thanking people. A sign of hope, mused Naruto. After traveling in silence for quite some time, Sasuke spoke up once more. Why is everyone targeting me? Orochimaru, Akatsuki. What is their problem? Is it not enough that I have lost everyone I love? Why can't they just leave me be? He sighed with tiredness. Naruto's compassion reared at this monologue of Sasuke's. He could understand all too well what the Uchiha felt. I am afraid you won't be left alone for quite a while yet, Sasuke. We both have powers that are central to Konoha's survival, as does Itachi. The Hokage, me and Mito, you, Kasan and Itachi, we will be in the center of happenings in the shinobi world for many years to come. Do not be sad, Sasuke said, noting the depressed nature of Sasuke's mind. Depression was possibly the worst thing any shinobi might experience. Their way of life was already depressing, additional burden may well break a shinobi. He had to head this off immediately. We are alive in a beautiful time. Our way of life is harsh and demands many a sacrifice, but we can change the world completely if we so wish. Learn from your brother, Sasuke. Aspire to be like him, to sacrifice without expecting anything in return. To kill with compassion, to protect your dependents with everything in you. That is a true ninja in my opinion, said Naruto. Sasuke thought on this for some time, and then smirked. When did you get so wise, Dobi? When you were busy ammoing yourself into oblivion, you team. Replied Naruto without missing a beat. The duo smirked together and continued with renewed vigor. For once Naruto felt not the age of Senju Hashirama, but like a kid his age should be. I should do this more often. Bantering with Sasuke is a good way of centering myself, he thought happily. Consorting with Uchiha. Though I must admit, that runt Sasuke's brother is someone I can respect, rumbled Kurama. Mito-sama, I am afraid Danzo actually has a following. He swayed many down into his side with that speech of his. If Root is officially reinstated, I am afraid Konoha will be split right down the middle, said Jiraiya gravely. The two were walking down the garden Naruto had created during his first meeting with Mito in this life. Surprising them all, Danzo had asked for reinstating the Root division of the Anbu. Many shinobi thought he would ask for weaponizing Naruto Uzumaki or Uchiha Sasuke. Or even worse, both. His speech was very stirring and the reasons he gave were actually valid. If Root had the clandestine support of the administration, then it could use its anonymity and freedom to carry out missions even the Anbu could not. My husband would never stand for Danzo's brutal training, Jiraiya. But the fact is, I somewhat agree with Danzo, she said, causing Jiraiya's eyes to widen. Don't be so alarmed. If we can convince him to drop or at least lessen his emotion wiping, the Root will be a great resource for Konoha. Hiruzen, I think, was a little too hasty in disbanding that division, she finished. Jiraiya frowned, thinking it over. I still don't think Naruto will ever stand for Root's reinstatement. Neither would Minato, nor will I. Ninja are human, Mito-sama, we are not emotionless killers. I would prefer Konoha not to sully itself with Danzo's atrocious schemes, he said strongly. Mito sighed. Leave it be, Jiraiya. I will defer to my husband's decision in this matter. Has your spy network uncovered any news of Akatsuki? Rumors only, Mito-sama. Akatsuki seem to be getting ready for some sort of mission, and they are beginning to establish a small township of their own in Iwa. I am afraid they are beginning to become a concrete entity instead of some obscure organization of criminals. Orochimaru is gathering missing ninja. Otogakure and Takigakure has Akatsuki presence. Ame is close to all foreign shinobi he listed off. Then I guess you received the same intel about Suna as I did? Asked Mito. Jiraiya nodded. If you are talking about Suna trying to retrieve their Jinchuriki from Kumo, then yes. Akatsuki might have a hand in that move, but I doubt it. I think Suna is acting separately from Akatsuki this once. Now that Naruto is going there, I think our alliance with Kumo will be rock solid. No one in Suna can beat our Naruto, he said, proud of his godson. Of that we can be sure, agreed Mito, as they use the sunshine to gracefully enter the village. Do you really think this is wise, Pain? Asked Itachi as they casually walked towards the hidden village of Cloud. Pain was striding forward purposefully, his robes fluttering in the fierce wind that was whipping up in the forest. Itachi did not think that they would escape unscathed if they were to execute this plan. Yes, Itachi. Akatsuki needs the Baijiu eventually, and we cannot have Suna making a move on the Ichibi Jinchuriki so soon. What we can do, however, is capturing Ichibi and Niibai when they are both in the same place and then keep them in captivity, and then get ready for the sealing technique. Itachi gave an infinitesimal nod, and continued his walk. Kumo was home to many strong ninja and he wondered how they were to penetrate the tight defense and capture Sabaku no Gara. I assume you don't want to infiltrate the village? Asked Itachi, sure of Pain's answer. The man had a deep-seated belief that he was God, and acted the way he perceived a god should act. Sure enough, Pain replied. I am God, Itachi. God needs no deception to accomplish his aims. We simply attack Kumo, extract the Jinchuriki and get back to base. If they stand in our way I will have to annihilate them, declared Pain. I cannot warn Naruto or Konoha of this development, thought Itachi sadly. He would have to kill many Kumo shinobi today to maintain his cover, for no one could stop him and Pain together. If I am forced to use my Mangekyo, the only result will be a bloodbath. If Pain really uses his Rinnegan, then the only result will be a natural disaster. Either way Kumo faces destruction today. Even the Raikage will be unable to stop us both, he thought. He had made quite a few friends among Kumo Jounin during his Anbu years and it would tear his heart to kill them. I only hope my reputation will at least make them cautious. That's far enough, said a voice determinedly, causing Naruto and Sasuke to halt. Naruto had sensed the interceptor quite some time ago and he assumed they were being analyzed and watched. The chakra he sensed was familiar but was accompanied by two other unfamiliar chakras. Hello, Yugito-san. Nice to see you so soon after the tournament, he greeted pleasantly. Suddenly, three ninjas stood before them in a sunshine. Accompanying the Niibai Jinchuriki were two ninja he did not recognize. I am Daru, Jounin of Kumo, and this is Killer B, brother of the Raikage. It seems you have already met Yugito, so, what is Uzumaki Naruto doing in our territory? Asked the now identified Daru lazily. Naruto immersed himself in the chakras of the two and smirked. The Raikage had sent out his strongest ninja in case Naruto proved to be a threat. I am here as a diplomatic representative of Konoha, and with a missive to your Raikage from the Hokage. Please escort us to Kumagakure, Daru-san, said Naruto formally. While he was never formal with anyone in his other life, it paid to respect customs. Who's the brat, yo? Exclaimed Killer B, pointing at Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke, grunted Sasuke and went right back to his brooding. Naruto stared straight at B, however, flaring his chakra. He could sense the Baijiu within B respond to his power with a spike of its own chakra and he recognized it immediately. That's Juki, isn't it, Kurama? I can sense that he is at peace now. Odd, he was the most violent of all of you back when you were all with me. His Jinchuriki must be extraordinary, thought Naruto with wonder. Yeah, it's Juki. That moron, he always got the oddest Jinchuriki. Do you know once when we were young, he was sealed into a hyena? The thing couldn't stand so much chakra so it died after a short while. I believe Juki got his stoic sense of humor after that. He'd had enough laughter for a lifetime, recounted Kurama. Naruto burst into laughter at the tale, causing everyone to glare at him. Gaining control of himself rather fast, he continued his interaction, still breaking into smiles every time he looked at B. Is there a problem? Asked Daru sternly. Naruto shook his head. No, not really, Daru-san. I just remembered a joke, please don't take offense. Yo! Why are you all here when you could tremble in fear? In front of my brother the Hidden Clouds Master, we, yelled B. Expressions that said they were long suffering the bad rap of B appeared on the faces of his comrades. Forgive B's bad rap, Naruto-san. But he makes a good point, you know. Shall we proceed to the village? It is already time for patrols to change and our shift is over, said Yugito. Naruto nodded and the 5 ninjas shot forward in their sunshines like blurs, racing towards the village of Cloud. A dozen minutes later they stood in front of the Raikage's office, and Naruto admired the beautiful glass paneling of the buildings here. It made it seem as if the entire village were a mass of beautiful jewels due to its reflective properties. The military organization of the village was admirable, having crisp organization and sound hierarchy. It could respond well to most threats at a moment's notice. Naruto saw a lot of things Konoha could emulate from the Cloud Village. It would benefit from an alliance with this village. Uzumaki, Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke to see the Raikage on behalf of Konoha, announced Daru. The sexy secretary looked Naruto once over and nodded, ushering them in. Naruto stepped in with his guards and Sasuke, deeply sampling the chakra that saturated the room. The Raikage stood tall behind a desk, a very powerfully built man. Naruto could sense the vitality and power the man oozed and decided that he had the strength to be Kage. He sensed the curiosity and tension in the Raikage and concluded that the man was a shrewd but temperamental tactician. "So, you are Naruto Uzumaki, are you, brat?" questioned the Raikage in a deep voice of menace. Naruto nodded respectfully, and withdrew the missive. Sasuke just watched from the background, his shrewd eyes observing and evaluating. "A missive for you, Raikage. Konoha extends its friendship to your nation at this juncture, and I am sure you have thought of it as well. It is time to put aside our nation's histories and work together towards a common goal," declared Naruto, handing the missive to the secretary, who read it in a few seconds and whispered to the Raikage. Naruto sat patiently through it all, observing the Raikage calmly. He could sense Sasuke's apprehension increasing as the Raikage's face grew angry. He didn't flinch as the Raikage appeared behind him in a flash of blue and his body began to emit Raiten chakra in enormous quantities. "You brat! How dare your village demand all our Jinchuriki and your so-called strike force? Do you have any idea what it is you are asking? I refuse to share our Baijuu with Konoha, you milk-fed little toddler," roared the Raikage. Here the Raikage's chakra practically exploded on Naruto, causing exasperated looks to appear on his subordinates' faces. Sasuke seemed amused at Naruto being called a milk-fed toddler. Naruto himself was quite amused with the Raikage's juvenile insult. He had never ever been insulted that way, and really, he found it quite funny. His mouth twitched as he looked at the Raikage who towered over him. "Fool! What kind of a messenger are you? You dare laugh at me?" snarled the Raikage. Naruto controlled himself, and replied, "No, Raikage. Would you please get your chakra down a bit? It's impressive, but I don't think we need it in a meeting between nations, Yugito and B winced as the Raikage appeared with blinding speed above Naruto and slammed him into the ground with terrific force. Sasuke could only stand stunned as he could not even follow the Raikage's speed. "That's for telling me what to do in my own office, you loud-mouthed brat. This meeting is over," said the Raikage. The crater that housed Naruto glowed a faint green before a voice spoke up. "Not really, Raikage. I am not called God of Shinobi for nothing, you know," said Naruto, standing up nonchalantly. The Raikage's punch seemed to be absent from his chest as he looked critically at the Raikage with bright green eyes. Yugito gasped and Daru's eyes widened in surprise. But B seemed quite occupied in his little notebook. The Raikage's eyes bugged out and this time his chakra rapidly escalated as he stared at Naruto. Naruto stared impassively at the Raikage, all traces of humor gone. "You will listen to me, and you will give our proposal fair hearing. It is required for peace, and I will see it happen. I have no wish to fight you," Raikage asserted Naruto. This man respected strength more than anything and it seemed he would have to show him his own. "I would like to see you try," said the Raikage in a deadly voice as he disappeared from view and appeared behind Naruto and directed a chop at his neck. Naruto did nothing to stop him, but infused his body with enormous healing chakra that made him glow green. The wound caused by the Raikage closed down immediately. "Don't try to fight me, Raikage. You will not like the results. I do not wish to beat another country's Kage to the ground," warned Naruto. One last time as they faced each other. It seemed that the last taunt had done the wrong trick as the Raikage seemed enraged beyond anything. The Kumo Jounin actually looked concerned as the Raikage seemed to go berserk with his rage. He had to go and antagonize Raikage-sama. The boy is good but no one can stand up to the Raikage's speed, thought Daru as he wrote a mental obituary for a young shinobi named Uzumaki Naruto. Pain and Itachi lowered their hoods as they faced the guards at the gate of the Cloud Village. The guards looked at them with a bored face, asking them to provide identification and purpose. "My name is not your concern and my purpose is to create peace," said Pain in a certain voice. Itachi truly admired Pain's fearlessness and confidence in his own power. The guards looked up then, and when they looked at Itachi, absolute fear bloomed on their faces. The gate guards of any village were updated on the complete bingo books frequently and they would surely be familiar with him. One guard fainted, and another sent a signal asking for the others to gather and to further alert the village. One went directly to the cage tower as Pain and Itachi simply watched. Numbers made little difference to them, and they took their time observing the village. Pain watched as a shinobi threw himself at Itachi with a katana, and watched as the shinobi simply dropped dead as he looked into Itachi's eyes. The two Akatsuki calmly strode forward, noting that a defense had been formed rapidly in front of the gate. Pain's Rinnegan shone as he said impassively, "If you stand against me, you will all be destroyed. Leave. I only want all your Jinchuriki. Die, nuke nin scum," screamed a Kumo shinobi uncertainly. Itachi internally sighed. Pain would absolutely slaughter this detachment of men. He was proved right when Pain raised his hands and intoned Shinra Tensei. Overwhelming force swept everything in front of the Akatsuki to rubble, gate and guards and everything. Alarms began to sound and Kumo signaling a breach in the village as the two Akatsuki walked in unconcernedly into the Cloud Village. Kaden, House Katsubakeni. Itachi's jutsu skewered another dozen shinobi as it rained several fire shuriken with deadly speed and accuracy. Pain smoothly flowed into his taijutsu, incapacitating and killing the shinobi that ran towards them with impunity. Itachi slowly took towards his designated half of the village and no one could stop the true heir of the Sharingan as he countered attacks with absolute efficiency, using both genjutsu and taijutsu with his hallmark proficiency. Itachi heard the explosions that meant Pain was simply sweeping away opposition with gravity itself. He was to search for Gar and his half of the village and meet Pain at the cage tower. Looking everywhere with his constantly activated Sharingan, he spied for the elusive Ichibi. With a powerful kick, he sent a Kumo Chunin barreling into the wall as he simultaneously replaced himself with a cage Bunshine. The street was now emptied of civilians as several shinobi fell upon Itachi. Casting a very strong wide area genjutsu with a flick of his fingers, he confused the orientation and sight of the attacking shinobi. Moments later, 20 shinobi fell dead as Itachi had punctured their vital points with the taijutsu he had copied from the Hyuga when he was but 10. Itachi flashed through the streets with his highly refined Shunshine, randomly killing Chunin. With an enormous fireball technique he blew a building into pieces, throwing the street into chaos. In the other direction he could sense Pain blowing a trail of destruction through the village. He spied another dozen Chunin coming at him to his left. They could not escape his Sharingan as he could identify them neatly. Raiten, Inazuma no Nami, yelled the shinobi together. A powerful arc of lightning 20 meters long connected with Itachi, causing the nuke nin to explode into a murder of crows that reformed behind them. The Uchiha then appeared in their midst and cut them down before they could react. "If this goes on, we will have to depopulate this place by ourselves. I hope I can find the Ichibi soon," thought Itachi soon as stopped another nin's heart gently with a pulse of chakra. "Raikage-sama," yelled she as he burst into the office urgently. The sight that faced him was one that was all too familiar. It seemed that their Raikage was having one of his famous temper tantrums and was taking it out on a guest. "Raikage-sama, the crisis that faces our village is serious. I have news that," began she rapidly. The Raikage held up his hand angrily, still glaring at Naruto. Can't you see I am busy?" he snarled. "This is important," yelled she as an explosion tore through the streets of their village. Out of the glass walls of the office, they saw another building undergo a fiery explosion. The noise of panicked civilians and organizing shinobi erupted suddenly in the village and it was apparent that they were under attack. The Raikage's face became cold as he turned to she who was looking at the continuous explosions and wails of dying shinobi with dismay. "Report. Who are the invaders?" questioned the Raikage immediately, forgetting the existence of Naruto and the Uchiha. "Only two of them, Raikage-sama. Akatsuki, both of them. They are tearing up our defenses easily and we are dying by the dozen. We need you and Bisan to contain them ASAP," rattled off she. The office shook violently, the glass shattering to bits. Recognition flared in Naruto's eyes as he identified the two who were attacking the village with all the efficiency of an army. The Raikage made as if to leave, but he appeared in front of the temperamental leader and said, "Do not take any Jinchuriki with you, Raikage. The ones you face are the leader of the Akatsuki and Uchiha Itachi. They are here to take Jinchuriki. Of that there is no doubt. We need to lead them away from your village, said Naruto urgently. Why, you little, snarled the Raikage, but Naruto did not allow him to finish. The already battered office developed cracks as he unleashed his potent chakra, and the desk exploded into pieces at its power. She fell down to the ground with Yugi Ito, their sensor abilities magnifying their inability to resist the power. As another building in the village was blown into bits and fire began to spread, he faced down the stunned Raikage. Old man, I am trying to save your village. Listen carefully, I have fought these men before. He looked around at Yugito and B. Do not come out, B and Yugito-san. Sasuke, do not confront your brother. This is not the time for that confrontation. Do not argue, he shouted angrily, noticing the mutinous expression on Sasuke's face. He flared his chakra even more in preparation to fight Pain and Itachi simultaneously. This will be hard, Hashirama. The Rinnegan birthed me and the Sharingan controlled me. Both those eyes are beyond dangerous. Be careful, cautioned Kurama. Naruto gave a mental nod, and a physical one to the ones in the room. Raikage, this is my duty. Itachi is a Konoha Nukenin and I have to deal with him personally. I will have to accompany you on this, said Naruto as his chakra did not stop rising. His relief increased as the Raikage nodded, and the two of them disappeared to the central square of Kuma where both their opponents had joined up again. Where's the boy? Asked Pain, looking at Itachi who seemed unscathed. All the Kumo shinobi seemed to be organizing a new assault on the invaders, so they were left untroubled for now. Not in my sector, replied Itachi coolly, his Sharingan observing the spies riddled everywhere. It appears as if he paused as powerful chakra filled the village, slightly surpassing his own. The Raikage is responding, it seems, he said, getting ready to activate Mangekyo Sharingan. The Raikage was too dangerous to be handled otherwise. The cage are nothing before me, said Pain arrogantly as he searched around with his Rinnegan. But abruptly another chakra began to bloom along with the Raikages, a chakra whose potency and vastness dwarfed everyone else in the village including them. Even Pain took a step back as the chakra of Senju Hashirama gathered like some unstoppable ocean, challenging them defiantly. Naruto is here, thought Itachi with exultation. Akatsuki's latest endeavor would be that much more difficult with the reborn Shodai against Pain. He could feel the Raikage approaching rapidly along with Naruto, the combined chakra making the shinobi of the cloud sweat and shiver. Another Jinchuriki is here to meet his fate. We capture Kyuubi first then, Itachi, said Pain. Itachi was no longer sure they could do that. The fight with Naruto would have to be real as his cover was of utmost importance. They rushed to meet their opponents, paying no regard to the ninja who feebly tried to attack them. Pain just blasted them out of the way. One way or another this village is destroyed, thought Itachi. No mere village can contain the damage of opponents like us meeting in battle. With two rapid body flickers, Naruto stood in the main square of the village with the Raikage. He could see shinobi lining the buildings and walls and could feel them drifting around the village evacuating the civilians and children. He turned to the Raikage and said, "You take care of Itachi. I will take care of the other one. Be very careful, Raikage. You do not want to underestimate the Uchiha," warned Naruto, causing the Raikage to scoff. Naruto heard the faint displacement of air and turned to face his greatest opponent for now. "Turn back now, Pain. Turn back now, and I might spare your life. I will protect my allies and village no matter the cost. Go," said Naruto impassively, not really expecting for his request to work. The Raikage however was incensed at the sight of the two who had marauded through his village. "I will make you bleed, Itachi. How dare you attack my village and dare to face me? Traitorous scum like you should never have the fortune to die at my hands," he snarled. Itachi did not even look at the Raikage, instead choosing to stare at Naruto. Pain was doing the same and they completely ignored the Raikage. "This time, you are ours, Naruto Uzumaki. Submit to God's judgment and save yourself suffering. This is my final warning," said Pain as he clasped his hands in the serpent seal. Naruto's eyes widened as he sensed the otherworldly chakra Pain was creating with that seal. This man does not play around, he thought as he scoffed at Pain. "You, a god? Don't flatter yourself. You may have the eyes but you know nothing. I will teach you the difference between us," he said with resolve. Killing Pain would be hard enough, but with Itachi maintaining his cover it would be nigh impossible. But he could drive him away for now. Without wasting a single moment he attacked Pain with his favorite technique, Jukai Katen, he said calmly, holding up the half-ram seal. He could see the Raikage disappear from view and attack Itachi with unbelievable speed and power. Itachi would be hard-pressed to counter absolute speed of the Raikage combined with lethal Raiden techniques. Trees as large as the Hokage Tower blasted out of the ground in hundreds and rushed towards Pain, crushing everything in its path. Buildings were crushed to pieces as the rapidly expanding and branching trees rushed towards Pain with terrific force, and the Kumo shinobi leapt high to avoid early deaths. Pain's eyes glowed blue as he opened his clasped hands to reveal a ball of absolute blackness, which he sent floating high into the sky. The trees were almost upon him, nearly condemning him to a painful death when he shouted, "Chibaku Tensei!" Within seconds, the huge main square began to splinter and crack with sharp reports. Then with a huge rush the earth that made up the large area disintegrated with a huge sound and rushed upwards towards the black ball, taking the hundreds of trees with them. Naruto's eyes widened as even he was sent floating towards the black ball at an alarming pace. This is Rikodo's planetary jutsu. But it is far from having Rikodo's power behind it. Pain, you do not know what you are playing with. Yugito watched with terrified eyes as humongous pieces of the village of Kumo began floating upwards rapidly, attracted by the black ball Pain had thrown. Naruto himself was buried in the huge sphere that was forming up in the sky, shining like a small planet. Slowly, the debris and rocks stopped rising and a large crater stood where the main square of Kumo once was. "This fight, it is beyond cage level," she murmured, amazed at the techniques being used. She knew she could do nothing against the Rinnegan wielder, and nothing against Itachi, who was easily matching the Raikage. "He is countering Asama with very skilled genjutsu," said Daru, watching both battles for any opening. A seemed to attack Itachi with the speed of the yellow flash, but he never actually hit the rogue Uchiha, who seemed to anticipate every place the Raikage would flash to. 8 says you don't need to worry about the Uzumaki. He says he is not yet dead, said B, for once coming out of rap mode. Yugito was stunned at that. Naruto was most likely dead, being buried under thousands of tons of earth did that to people. But the battle had not yet ended, for a rumbling sound was beginning within the huge earth sphere floating in the sky. It escalated to painful proportions as rocks were crushed within the sphere, causing Pain to narrow his eyes in frustration. With an unbelievably explosive report, the heavenly body created by Pain broke in half and fell to the ground, destroying a huge section of the village. Floating high in the air was a massive wood dragon, Naruto standing upon its head. The dragon began to shine silver as its creator slammed his palm together and shouted, "Makuten, Ryuko no Jutsu," and from the mouth of the wood dragon descended a huge beam of solid silver light that lent its brightness to the entire devastated landscape. "That is Hashirama's dragon light. I was hit by that once and it took me a week to reform," said Niibai, causing Yugito to gasp again. This was too much. No man should have such strength. She watched with her heart beating erratically as the two shinobi in front of her wielded powers that should never be. The dragon light descended with rushing force and slammed into the ground where Pain was standing with an explosion that rattled her teeth and sent shockwaves in all directions. When the huge cloud of dust cleared, it revealed Itachi standing over the prone form of the Raikage. Daru's expression became extremely alarmed, if Asama himself were unable to subdue the invaders. It also revealed Naruto staring down both Pain and Itachi as he stood upon his wood dragon. The detail in the structure of the dragon amazed Yugito to no end. She would say it was real with no hesitation save that it was made of wood. Naruto sighed as he saw Itachi defeat the Raikage. It seemed as if the Eternal Mangekyo was a little too much even for the leader of the cloud. Only he had ever defeated an Eternal Mangekyo user, but Itachi was different from Madara. In skills and sheer genius, Itachi surpassed Madara, who in Naruto's opinion was an embodiment of power. Itachi had both enormous skill and power. "So it comes down to us three," murmured, looking at his two opponents. Pain extended his palm and announced in a deep voice, "Banshu Tenin." Naruto felt himself pulled toward Pain brutally and saw the Akatsuki leader pull out sharp chakra rods to pierce him. A few yards shy of death by impalement, he twisted in the air and kicked Pain with all his considerable strength, causing the Akatsuki to slam into the ground with terrific force. At the same time he heard Itachi's voice proclaim, "Amaterasu." A tree sprouted in front of him to take the brunt of the heavenly flames. Naruto winced as he felt the tree burn to nothing and stared at Itachi's eyes, looking at his Eternal Mangekyo for the first time. And he gasped in surprise. He never knew that a Mangekyo could take on this shape, for sitting in the middle of Uchiha Itachi's red pupil was the symbol of the Uchiha clan. "Is Itachi the perfect Uchiha?" wondered Naruto. "Is he my counterpart from the clan of hatred? These are not trivial opponents, you idiot. To match both of them at once, you need to take them seriously. That Itachi fellow with the Uchiha Mangekyo is at least as dangerous as the Rinnegan wielder. I know that, Kurama." "Makuten, Hote no Jutsu," said Naruto, and massive hands of wood burst out all around Itachi and Pain, seeking to crush them. Pain blasted them to smithereens, but Itachi unveiled something intimately familiar to Naruto. Golden fire materialized in front of Itachi and spread to form a huge skeleton of chakra with 4 hands. In its 2 hands it bore legendary weapons, the sword of Totsuka and the Yata mirror. In the other 2 hands it held the fires of Amaterasu. "Looks like I will have to get serious," mused Naruto. "That is what I am trying to tell you, you overconfident moron," snarled the Kyuubi. With a single slash of the Totsuka blade, all of his invading wood hands were sealed into it permanently. Naruto watched as Pain appeared beside Itachi, who was wreathed with a still incomplete Susanoo. This time, he would not let Pain go. With a roar, his wood dragon rushed towards the duo. Silver light blasted out of its mouth in a raging torrent as Naruto unleashed the dragon light once more. But it was to no avail as the beam split into 2 as it met the Yata mirror, and collided with the ground separately, causing debris to fly everywhere. Itachi met the onslaught of the wood dragon with the Yata mirror, which Naruto could not penetrate. Simultaneously, Pain appeared smoothly beside the large wood dragon and laid a hand on its body. Shinra Tensei. Naruto leapt off his wood dragon as it was sent careening into the distance, crashing through several buildings. This was getting ridiculous, he thought. The longer this fight went on, whatever remained of Kuma would get ground into extremely fine dust. As he looked around, he saw the devastation this fight had caused to the Cloud Village. It made the creation of the Akatsuki response force even more vital than before. It could only be hoped that the hot-headed Raikage would see sense at least now. But for now he would end the fight. He had to convince Pain to let up on his offensive for a time. The sky grew dark as he summoned his strength and intoned powerfully. Makuten, Kamisoko. His chakra sang as he melded Makuten to rise up from the earth, forming a huge wooden skeleton that encased him completely. He could see Itachi's stunned face as he created a Makuten version of the Susanoo. He had created this technique specifically to battle the Uchiha, who were so proud of their Susanoo wielders. "This is my technique, the God Armor. I will warn the 2 of you again, leave. I won't hold back from here onwards, as I don't have to worry about saving the village. The citizens are all safe and evacuated. You both are but children playing with things that should be left alone. Go back to your village." He abjured them. Tall words, said Pain, who had recovered from the momentary shock of seeing the Uchiha jutsu imitated by Naruto. "I will tear apart the wood easily, Uzumaki, or Itachi will cut it to shreds. Submit to me or die," he said in a certain voice. "I will strip this man of his god complex," resolved Naruto as he pumped his extraordinary chakra through the highly conducive god armor. His skeletal construct shone a blinding silver as the wood turned transparent, making it look exactly like the Susanoo. It even towered over Itachi's Susanoo as its own 4 arms began to manifest various weapons. The 2 upper arms bore enormous long swords of bright silver chakra, and blue chakra began to swirl in the palms of the arms below. Now for the hard part, thought Naruto as he caused Odama Rasengan to appear in the lower arms. The eyes of his Kamisoko began to shine with white fire as he turned to face a flabbergasted Itachi and Pain. "I told you I would stop holding back," he said gravely as his god armor raised its swords and swung them towards Pain, the force of its slash ripping up the ground everywhere. Pain managed to repel the force slash with gravity manipulation and rushed towards Naruto, whose Kamisoko slammed in Odama Rasengan with terrific force at Itachi's Susanoo. "I expected that," thought Naruto as a terrible explosion ensued once more. Itachi's Susanoo stood unscathed as it held out the Yata mirror. Naruto met the swing of the Totsuka sword with one of his own long swords, causing the air to ripple all around him. He slammed the remaining Odama Rasengan at the rapidly approaching Pain, but the Akatsuki leader held up his hands to meet the massive attack. "You used Pretapath, just as I thought. Time to show you the real meaning of power," thought Naruto as Pain drained out the Rasengan with the Pretapath. The massive Kamisoko made fists of its now free lower 2 hands and slammed them with unbelievable force on the Akatsuki leader, who had clearly not expected that attack. The already wounded ground exploded once more in a large circular explosion as Pain's body was crushed completely. He felt the life force of the fallen Akatsuki return to the real Pain far away. Itachi's Susanoo wavered and dissipated as he appeared next to Pain's now crushed body, gathering it easily in his arms. Before leaving, he looked at Naruto with his eternal Mangekyo and caught him with Tsukuyomi. Naruto released his god armor as he felt reality waver around him. This time, Itachi's genjutsu was very strong. He doubted he could break out without his Sage Mode or Kurama. Itachi's Tsukuyomi was now not a world of racing white and red. No, it was a bottomless black void they stood in. A void that would probably render the mind of the weak into pieces. Naruto turned as Itachi appeared in front of him with a whisper. "Why did the two of you attack Kumo, Itachi? Though I think it will help in mobilizing the nations against Akatsuki." He shook his head as Itachi stared at him. "It was fortunate I was here to stop pain. He is still not used to unifying the 6 paths in another body and using all of them at once. Where is he learning all this? I found it quite hard to fight him." Itachi considered his words for a time, and replied. "Firstly, the temptation of having two Jinchuriki with such ease was too appealing to Akatsuki. The impostor seemed to think having two Jinchuriki in reserve beforehand would accelerate his plans. I am sorry I could not do more, Naruto. My cover is the highest priority, as you well know," sighed Itachi. "Indeed," said Naruto. "But you fought extremely well, Itachi. When the time comes I have no doubt we can keep Konoha safe from Akatsuki," he said with a distant look. "I noticed the shape of your eternal Sharingan. It is extremely fitting, Itachi. Perhaps it is fate's way of marking the true heir of the Sharingan," he mused. Itachi just smiled and said, "That may be, but I never knew you could match my Susanoo with one of your own. How many aces do you have in your sleeve, Shodai Hokage?" he asked with a kind of amused wonder. Naruto just grinned. "We all have our secrets." Then his face grew serious. "I cannot let another village experience the aftermath of battles between me and Pain. I will try to find some means of rapid communication between us." Itachi nodded at this. "I must leave, Naruto," he said. Naruto nodded, readying himself to return to reality. Before Itachi let go, he asked, "One last thing, Itachi. Why do you call me Naruto suddenly? I thought you wanted me to be Hashirama?" Itachi just shook his head and answered, "The past haunts us all with its weight, Naruto. It is in the future we can hope to redefine ourselves and gain hope. The future is real, and the past is gone." Naruto smiled wholeheartedly at Itachi's answer as the Tsukuyomi wavered and Itachi disappeared into the distance with the remains of Pain's Deva path. He understands. He understands completely. The Raikage walked through the village of Kuma, surveying the damage to his village with a frown. The north half of the village completely demolished after Naruto fought Pain and Itachi, testifying to the level of their fight. His entourage looked at the broken buildings and the large craters with sadness and a hint of wonder. Shinobi knew when to appreciate strength, and this was probably the most awe-inspiring battle they had ever seen. It seemed the rumors of Uzumaki Naruto's strength was not really an exaggeration. If anything, it is an understatement, snorted the Raikage to himself. Though he was extremely angered at the loss of half his village, he supposed that he owed Naruto for containing Pain's assault within just the northern half. It was thanks to the young Uzumaki that his people were saved, and thanks to the highly efficient organization of his shinobi. Raikage-sama, rebuilding all this is an enormous task. We will have to commission specialists for the task, and that will take resources we do not have now. We will have to increase mission intake, said Daru lazily. I suppose, started the Raikage, but was interrupted by the arrival of his guests. Naruto stood in front of him with Sasuke, who was wearing a sullen expression. Naruto turned to survey the utter and widespread devastation his fight had caused, and said, I will construct the northern half as you wish it. Consider it a gift of goodwill from Konoha, Raikage. Naruto, exclaimed Yugito as B sent him a thumbs up sign. Naruto smiled at them but looked at the Raikage inquiringly. A seemed conflicted, but Naruto continued. I assume you now see the need for alliance. I was able to stop them for now, but this war will not be all about me. We need rapid response forces to deal with Akatsuki and all the allied nations. We need our 3 nations to join, for there is no other way to counter the rising power block of the Akatsuki, he said solemnly. A's expression cleared as Naruto spoke, and for once the Kage spoke with a calm voice. You speak the truth. I will see what I can do to convince the council of this. I will never let this happen to my village ever again. I swear it. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.